Good evening, and welcome to the public hearing of the Livingston Zoning Board of Adjustment. Today is, I don't even know what date it is. Today is April 22nd, 2025. If you're an applicant for a D or use variance, you should be aware that such a variance can only be granted after showing that special reasons for the grant of that variance exist, and that variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the zoning board of the Township of Livingston. You should also be aware that in order to be granted such a variance, you will require affirmative vote of 5 members of the 7-member Board of Adjustment. Other variances require a majority of 4 members to grant that variance. If you're an applicant for any variance and your variance is denied by this board, you have a right to appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of notice of decision, and that court may overturn the decision of this board. If you're an objector to any type of variance that has been granted, you too may appeal to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey within 45 days of notice of decision. If you do file an appeal, I ask that you please provide a copy of your complaint to the Planning Administrator, Jackie Hollis. Pursuant to requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Star-Ledger and West Essex Tribune, and a copy is also posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. In addition to having notice posted, notice of this meeting was placed on the Township's website. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions or to make statements regarding each application at the appropriate time. When the time comes, if you would like to address the board, please come to the front and use the microphone so we make sure your comments or questions are part of the record. We will now call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Horn? Here. Mr. Shaw? Here. Mr. Sherman?
Here.
Ms. Yuan?
Here.
Mr. Weissman?
Here.
Ms. Khan is here. Mr. Beer?
Here.
And Ms. Hollis from the Planning Administrator is here, as well as Ms. Madry, the Planning Coordinator, and our Board Attorney, Mr. Wenzel.
You'd like to call the first applicant, please?
Block 4500, Lot 14, 41 Manor Road, application number 2025-8-V, 14 Waterfall Drive, LLC. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family home in violation of the following section: 170-99 CC4, habitable floor area ratio 30% allowed, 35.3% proposed, 5.3% variance requested.
I'm sorry, before we get started, if anyone's here for 24 Bryant Drive, application number 2025-14-V, that has been adjourned until June 24th. There'll be no further notice of that application. Mr. Posada.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Posada from the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent the applicant, 14 Waterfall Drive, LLC. This is an application for a D4 variance of being a habitable floor area ratio that's triggered by the proposed improvement. The applicant tonight is here seeking to demolish all existing improvements on the lot and propose a new single-family home, one that will trigger a ratio variance. However, all other bulk standards are being met so that the site can accommodate the proposed improvement itself. The reason for the triggering of this variance relief is due to the fact that the site itself is undersized. Tonight, I will have 2 witnesses. My first witness will be Mr. Jose Carbello, who will walk us through the architectural plans that he had drafted. And then afterwards, our planner, Nick Graviano, will wrap it up and discuss why he believes that the statutory requirements for positive and negative criteria are met for this ratio variance. So if I may, I'd like to call my first witness, Mr. Carbello.
Okay, why don't we have you get you sworn in? Do you swear affirm and tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Absolutely. Jose Carballo, last name C-A-R-B as in boy, A-L-L-O.
Okay, and we can have Mr. Carballo's qualifications on briefly?
Yes.
Absolutely. I've been an architect in New Jersey since 1986. I've been in front of this board several times. I've been in front of every board in Hudson County, probably about 50% of the boards in Bergen County. Atlantic City, Patterson, Jersey City, you know.
Is your license still in good standing?
Yes, it is.
Terrific. Does the board accept him as an expert in architecture?
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as expert in architecture.
Thank you so much. Jose, have you had an opportunity to visit the subject site?
Yes, I have.
And did you take into consideration the site constraints when drafting your proposed plans?
Yes, we have,
And
absolutely.
did you also take into consideration those bulk measurements?
Yes, we did.
Great. Why don't you walk us through what we're proposing here tonight?
Absolutely. So the property is located at 41 Manor Road. It is a single-family home. The property is an irregularly shaped lot. It's only about 66 foot wide on the front, and it's got two irregular size depth lines. One is 115, the other one is 135 or something like that. Oops. So the zoning table is on the front of the first page, and as you can see, the only variance that we have tonight, that we're here for tonight, is the habitable floor area ratio. Everything else is within the confines of what's called the building envelope, which is the building actually falls within all of the setback lines of the property. As you can see on the site plan that's on the screen right now. The variance that we're seeking tonight is 5 points more than the 30% that's permitted, and that is something that is necessary for this house to be of adequate size and basically livable. So house is a two-story house, and it has a basement. Basement, as you can see, it's got a rec room, an office, mechanical area, an exercise room. It's just a typical basement is below grade, so that it is a basement. First floor, as you can see, it basically has your entry or your foyer. It's got a living room, dining room. It's got a guest room just so that you can get intergenerational living within the house. It's got a good-sized family room adjacent to the kitchen, I guess, just for the family to be able to interact with each other. The garage, obviously, we're not counting that as part of the area for the first, I guess, like 400 square feet. So that's not part of it. As you can see on the second floor, it's got 4 bedrooms. None of the bedrooms are exceedingly large. So that's one of the reasons we're asking for this floor area ratio variance, is just to make sure that the house is adequate to live in. You can see the bedrooms, the largest bedroom is what's called the primary bedroom, which is bedroom number 1. Excuse me, and this is 15 by 17, not large by any stretch of the imagination. All the other bedrooms, they're 10 by 12, 12 by 12, so they're all adequate sized bedrooms. So again, we're just over 400 square feet in extra area. It would mean that we would have to take 5 feet off the entire building. If we took 5 feet off, for example, if you're looking at the second floor, all the bedrooms would actually be very small. So that's why we need that extra floor area. The elevations of the building, again, we have no variances, which includes no height variances. As you can see, it's a very nicely designed house with peaks and that. So it just fits the neighborhood, as far as the look and as far as some of the sizes of the other houses that have been built in the area. This is the main entrance of the building, which is the front with the garage doors. Again, as you can see, the rear of the building, it's designed the same way. And the sides, obviously are designed as well, just to maintain the design concept throughout all 4 sides of the property. Again, and the height at 30 feet complies with the height requirements. So we do not have any variances other than the floor area ratio, and I've explained why we need that extra area. I think that this fits the site and the neighborhood. Any questions from anybody?
I just have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
Number 1, the attic itself, it's accessible how?
The attic is accessible through a pull-down hatch. The height of the attic it's 8 feet, but that's only 8 feet for a while, because as you can see, The 8 feet is about here, what we have, the structure of the building, and it's probably for about 8 foot wide that it maintains that height. So it's basically not a habitable attic.
Okay, and what building materials are we proposing for this?
So the buildings are all what's called GFRC or your James Hardy board on the exterior. So you can see it's all shakes so that we maintain the look of the neighborhood.
Terrific. I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? Nope, no questions.
All right, I'd like to call
Thank
my last
you.
witness, Mr. Nick Graviano, who is my planner.
Okay, Mr. Graviano, do you swear affirm and tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my first name is Nicholas with an H, last name Graviano, G-R-A, V as in Victor, I-A-N-O. I'm a planner and partner with Graviano and Gillis Architects and Planners.
Graviano's qualifications on briefly.
Yes, hold a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University, master's degree in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, law degree from the Temple University School of Law. I've been qualified by this board and over 100 other municipalities in the state of New Jersey. My PP is still valid, and I also hold the AICP certification.
Is this board accepted as an expert in planning?
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as expert in planning,
Thank you so
professional
much.
planning.
Thank you, always a pleasure being here.
Mr. Graviano, did you have an opportunity to visit the subject site?
Yes, I've been on this site on 2 separate occasions, the most recent before the hearing tonight this evening.
And in your professional opinion, do you believe that the site can accommodate the proposed variance relief?
Certainly. The applicant is before the board this evening requesting D4 FAR relief for a specific piece of property known as Block 4500, Lot 15. That's a street address of 41 Manor Road. Upon looking at the neighborhood and analyzing the square footage data of the surrounding neighborhood, this is certainly in keeping with the neighborhood pattern. Numerous houses within the neighborhood over the 3,000 square foot mark that the applicant's proposing this evening. I would like to note that the applicant, as you heard in the architectural testimony, is below the maximum habitable floor area number. So it's certainly a reasonably designed dwelling in the context of the lot. This is a slightly undersized lot, 9105, where 9375 is required. I would also like to note that the building height is 4.5 feet less than what the ordinance allows. The applicant is meeting all of the side yard setbacks, is meeting the off-street parking requirements. So when we look at the D4 FAR variance request, the applicant must demonstrate that the site can accommodate the proposed use given the requested relief in FAR. Certainly, all the setbacks are being met. There's no substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance or through the public good and the neighbors. This proposal certainly advances purpose A of the municipal land use law, promotion of the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. That's done through building a new house built to current code standards, as well as going through the grading review of the municipality's engineer and providing the stormwater management mechanisms that are customary for new single-family dwellings. Additionally, this advances purpose G, sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. And then lastly, as you saw through the impeccably designed plans, it certainly promotes a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? Nope. Oh,
Hi, I have a question for Mr. Caballo. Do you have the square footage of the basement readily available?
The square footage of the basement is approximately, just look it up here. So the basement is 1,581 square feet,
1,581, you said?
1581, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Does anybody in the public want to make any statements regarding this application? No statements? Is there anything you want to say, Mr. Posada?
I waive my submission.
Okay, does anybody want to make a statement on the board?
I guess the only thing I want to just say or ask, would you accept a condition of approval that the attic won't be used, can't be used as living space?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Excellent. Does anyone want to make a motion? Oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, no, I appreciate it as an undersized lot, and you do try to keep the house modest to build something that people would want in the current day and age, but still stay as best as you can, within kind of the size of the lot, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely, we knew that there would be a sensitive topic, so that's why we wanted to make sure that it was substantially below.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the condition of approval for the attic.
I'll second the motion to approve.
Okay. Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Shah?
Yes.
Ms. Yuan?
Yes.
Mr. Weissman?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready. Same thing. Where is my agenda here?
Push the house. There's one of them.
Okay, next application. 18 Browning Drive, application number 2025-5-V, Jesse and Dana Good. Applicant seeks approval for a second-car garage addition and two-story addition at the rear with second addition over existing one-story portion in violation of the following sections. 170-98C2, front yard setback, 50 feet required, 46.25 feet proposed, 3.75 feet variance requested. 170-98C3, left side yard setback, 10 feet required, 8.7 feet proposed, 1.25 feet variance requested. 170-87L1C, corner lot setback, 40 feet required, 27.1 proposed, existing, 12.9 feet variance requested.
Sounds like a lot.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I assume you're Jesse and Dana?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
Yes.
Okay. And you are the owners of the property, 18 Browning Drive, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, tell us what you got.
Well, we have been living in the house since 2013. We now have two daughters, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. Every day they get bigger and the house feels smaller. So what we're looking to do is go above the existing living room and dining room and put in a primary suite and increase the size of our kitchen and dining room, and then turn a one-car garage into a two-car garage. The problem is the configuration of the structure on the property as it was originally built. It's already non-conforming as it's outside of the lines. So you listed all the variances, it sounded like a lot. Two of them are just on the right corner where no, you don't have to. You can see just in the right corner over there where it just goes beyond, it goes 1.25 feet in that back right, and it's literally just on the corner. And in the front, it's already past the 40-foot, so it's just on that front corner again to create the two-car garage, keeping the same line of the building. We do not change the sight lines, the lines of sight from either street from the corner. It's going to improve aesthetically the neighborhood and is in line with every other building that's happened on our block anywhere near us. Every single one of the houses we had to notify has had work done. We're still on the original property. I think I got it all.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for this witness on the board?
Hi.
Hi.
And it was really more a question I was going to ask for the architect, but that's you, I guess, tonight.
He is here, and I can call into bullpen if we need him.
Well, here's the question, and I don't, when we don't get into designing or
No problem.
negotiating, but so it's, council could correct me if I'm overstepping. It's more of a yes/no question. I see that on the right side, of the house where you're encroaching to 8.75.
Correct.
And I see that car, I see that it's 24.5 plus 6, so it's 30.5 feet long.
So-
So my question for the architect is, couldn't the architect have, what material detriment would have to you
okay.
as the owner if it sort of went on an angle?
I
Again,
actually
don't
have-
wanna
I actually
design
have an
it,
answer
but I
for
want to
this one.
understand it why we're here. Yeah.
One of the other hardships, if you have with our kids, is our foyer, where Ted collects every single shoe and jacket, and that was for a mudroom and storage. If you look at the second,
Oh, let me
the
take a
plans
look.
back there is past the second car, and the two cars are not even as wide as our two cars are. We were trying to keep it as thin as possible, but that does provide the mudroom and a little storage in the back there for us.
Oh, I see. Oh, the store. Oh, right. So the part that I'm asking about would be that
Correct.
storage.
Correct.
You're looking for that
That
storage.
would be like a little mudroom area. Correct.
Right. Okay. No, but I think the mudroom would be okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So really, your hardship is that the way the house is situated on the lot, right?
And the
If
left
the
side
house
going
was square, you probably wouldn't have this problem.
100%.
Right, okay.
And even the left side, like, that's the main side. It goes above the existing.
Right.
And you would agree with me that you looked into your options, and because of the alignment of the home, that any addition would result in the a variation of the same variances you're asking for
100%.
today?
Yes.
Okay.
Did anybody else on the board have any questions? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public want to make a statement regarding this application? Does anybody on the board want to make a statement? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes?
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Yuan?
Yes.
Mr. Weissman?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay. 6 Spalding Drive, application number 2025-13-V, 6 Spalding Drive LLC. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family home in violation of the following sections: 170-99C2, front yard setback, 40 feet required, 36.46 proposed existing, 3.54 variance requested, 170-87CC4, habitable floor area ratio, 30% allowed, 35.99% proposed, 5.99% variance requested.
Okay, for the record, Board Member Shah has recused himself as he resides within the 200-foot zone. So, just so the applicant is aware, we are down to 6 voting members on this, Mr. Pizzata.
Yes, we'd like to proceed forward. I understand that we need 5 votes for the affirmative.
Just
Thank you.
figured you should know.
Thank you. I do appreciate the heads up. I do.
All good, whenever you're ready.
All right, terrific.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Good evening again. Again, my name is Matthew Posada with the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent the applicant, 6 Spalding Drive LLC, in connection with this variance application here tonight for you. What the applicant is looking to do here tonight is they are looking to demolish the existing improvements and propose a new single-family home. That single-family home itself will trigger a D variance relief for habitable floor area ratio. But I want to double down the fact that although it's causing a variance, it's also eliminating two variances. We're going to be eliminating the existing side yard and side yard area as well. You'll also see, if you look at the zoning review letter, that there is a established setback, that we could not meet that definition. So in order to meet established setback standards, you need 3 homes on each side, left and to the right. Since we could not satisfy that, that is why we have a quote-unquote existing nonconformity for the front yard setback. But again, I just want to reiterate that it is because we couldn't meet the totality of that definition. And I also want to just reiterate that it is an existing condition that's there today. With that being said, I do have 3 professionals here tonight. My first will be Tom Stearns, who is our engineer, followed by our architect, Eamon, and then our planner, Nick. If I may, I'd like to call my first witness, Mr. Tom Stearns.
Okay. Stearns, do you swear affirm and tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Sure. Thomas G. Stearns III, Stearns, 144 Jewel Street, Garfield, New Jersey.
Okay, and can we have Mr. Stearns' qualifications on briefly?
Sure. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey, licensed land surveyor. I've been practicing engineering and surveying for since 1998. Been accepted as an expert in engineering before many boards in the state: Bergen County, Hudson, Passaic, Essex, hometown of Garfield. I'm there every month.
Does this board accept him as a professional in both surveying as well as engineering?
One question, what school? I didn't-
University of Delaware for civil and NGIT for surveying.
Gotcha. Okay. Does anyone on this board have any questions or objections regarding this witness for either of his qualifications? There being no objection, the witness is accepted as an expert in engineering and in land surveying.
Thank you.
Terrific. Tom, did you have an opportunity to visit the subject site?
I did, yes.
And to conduct both the surveying and civil for the site?
Yes.
Why don't you walk us through what we're proposing here today? But before going into what we're proposing, why don't you first walk us through the existing conditions?
Sure.
Thank you.
So this is, to clarify, this is my site plan dated December 16th, 2024. We are, scroll down in the middle here, we're lot 17, block 4203. This is 8 Spalding Drive. We are on the northerly side of Spalding to the east of Spear Drive. So the subject property has a 2.5-story dwelling located 5.92 off the easterly sideline, 16.46 off the westerly. It has a front yard of 3639 and a rear yard of 4361. The topography on the site, the front right corner starts the grading at approximately 85 elevation, and as we get to the rear, left rear corner is 97. So you have approximately a 13-foot grade change diagonally across the lot. So we're removing that existing dwelling, and our proposal is to construct a new dwelling, which is located on this location here. On my site plan detail, so we have a 2-story dwelling, approximately it's 2,009 square feet footprint. So we have our driveway on the right side, a driveway slope of approximately 12% coming up into the garage. We have a 2-car garage at that location. Our side yard setbacks are 11 foot on the right, and we have 1272 on the left. So as Mr. Posada was talking about the front yard setback, we took the average of the setbacks on the 3 houses to the right and to the left, and we came up with a average setback of 3625. So the proposed dwelling we're providing is 36.56, where 40 feet is required, but we do have that, we're meeting that average front setback, and that's one of our variances we're requesting. As far as the rest of the grading goes, we do have that steep area in the back, so just to have an open, accessible area with a patio in the back, we're providing a retaining wall, which is more than at least 5 foot off the westerly sideline and approximately 15 feet off the rear line. And that'll give a level area with a flat patio outside the back door of the building. That wall is approximately 4 foot high at the max. So that's standard. Just go through the zone chart. So required lot area is 9375. We're at 8928. That's an existing nonconformity. Lot depth, lot width 75 feet. We're at 7615. That's permissible. Lot depth 125 is required. We have an existing nonconformity of 119.69. The front yard, again, as I said, 40 is required. The setback we established was 3625, and we're providing 3646. That's a variance we're asking for. 11-foot side yard again, rear yard 3515, where 35 is required. Aggregate side yard 23.72, where 2285 is required. And then our habitable floor area, 3220 is required. We're at 3214, so we comply with that. But the ratio, due to the fact that our lot is undersized, our ratio is 35.99, where 30 is required. So that's a variance required there as well. Building height, we're compliant. We're at 33.09, where 35 is required. Let me see. I think that sums it up. As far as stormwater goes, we have an existing inlet, storm inlet in the front of the property. We're under a 1,000 square foot of new improvement. So we're a minor development in the town. So what we're doing is our piping our existing, our new roof to that catch basin in the front. So it'll improve water runoff from the site, what currently runs off onto the site, onto other properties in the street. So
just to confirm, this will be an improvement for the existing stormwater conditions?
it will, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? None?
Terrific.
Oh, yes, please come up. Come, please, first come up to the mic. And we'd like to know your name and everything else, so we're all friends.
Name is Sheldon Derrick. I live on Belmont Drive within the 200-foot area.
Great.
And I heard the subject was brought up, but I didn't hear it in detail. The area has slopage. I'm downslope. So I'm wanted to know if stormwater and groundwater, which is extremely important, it's a lot of groundwater and high table water, were they taken into consideration? Is there mitigation for that?
So groundwater will be, there is an existing basement in the dwelling, but we will do percolation tests and soil boring tests for the new building. So at that point, we'll determine if there is groundwater in the area of the building. And if there is, we will remedy it with a perimeter drain and sump pumps. And we could direct that sump pump right to that inlet, which is located in front of our property. So it won't be running across other properties or across the street.
And Mr. Stearns, isn't it true that if we were to move forward with the building permit pursuant to the municipality's engineering memo, we would have to submit a drainage permit application?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so just to confirm that we would, have to pass the test for the municipal engineer that we satisfy any stormwater concerns, and B, is it also true that the existing conditions today would be improved by the proposed development?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Did that adequately answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you for your consideration.
Of course, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think, any other questions? Nope, that's it.
Terrific. I'd like to call my next witness.
Please.
My architect, Eamon Sedra.
Do you swear affirm and tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Ayman Sedra, last name is Sedra, S-E-D-R-A.
Okay, and if we have Mr. Cedra's qualifications.
Sure, I have a bachelor degree in architecture. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey since 2016. I'm licensed in Tennessee, New York, and Pennsylvania. And I testified in front of this board and many boards in New Jersey. and my license still in a good standing.
Terrific. Does the board accept him as an expert in architecture?
Does anyone in the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as expert in architecture.
Thank you. Eamon, did you have an opportunity to visit the subject site?
Yes, I have.
And did you also have an opportunity to review this municipality zoning code?
Yes, I did.
Did you take both into consideration when drafting the proposed improvement?
Yes, I did.
Terrific. Why don't you walk us through what you have
Sure.
proposed?
The first sheet here shows the first floor and the basement. The first floor consists of the living spaces in the house. We also have a guest bedroom with its own bathroom and closet. We have two-car garage, and the area for the first floor is 1,574 square feet. The garage area is 445 square feet. To the left of that, we have the basement. The basement is one big open space. Also, we have a mechanical room and a bedroom with its own egress access. We have a bathroom in the basement. The area for the basement is 1,574. The next sheet here on the left, you see the second floor plan. We have 4 bedrooms with its own bathroom and closets. We have a laundry room. We have 2-story entry foyer. The area for the second floor is 1,640. The total floor area ratio is 35.99, which is 3,214. We are below the habitable floor area, which is 3,220. We have a 2-story foyer on the second floor, which is the square footage is counted twice, but the foyer itself is only used from the first floor. The area for this open foyer is 54 square feet. There is an access pull-down stair on the second floor to access the attic. If you look to the left is the exterior of the, the right is the exterior of the house. It's a colonial style home. We have a stone base at the bottom. On the first floor, we're gonna have James Hardy horizontal lap siding. On the second floor, we'll have James Hardy board and batten. We have casement windows, standing seam metal roof above the porch area and the garage, and then asphalt shingle roofs on the main house on the top. The rest of the elevations kind of like matches the character that I described. It's only we're gonna use horizontal siding throughout the 2 sides and the back. The attic height from the attic floor to the underside of the ridge is 7'8", with the collar tie being at 5 foot from the attic floor. Lastly, the building height is 33 feet 1 inches, which it meets it's under the code requirement, which our code calls for 35, we're 33.1.
And
That's
again,
all.
just to confirm, the attic itself is not habitable.
Yeah, it's not habitable, correct.
Terrific. I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? You guys have questions? They're writing down the questions. 1 second.
You got it.
Anybody on this side? Okay. Stand by 1 second.
Yeah, well, just one thing for clarity, I guess. On this, the zoning map, it's got, on the zoning map, it says existing lot contains 8,594 square feet, and then you have a survey with, oh, so, sorry, 8,694, and then it's got the 8,928. I know the survey matches this, but then Under the general notes on the right.
Oh, the general notes, all right. Sorry. Okay, understood, yeah, so we're gonna go with the 8,928 square feet. That's the correct number. That's a drafting error on the general notes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
And then I have a question. So the balcony,
Yeah.
right, top, that's not considered living space right now.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just open balcony.
So would
yeah.
that, would be a condition that that balcony would not be
Will never
finished
be
as?
enclosed, yeah.
Okay, okay. And we come and check these things, you know, we drive around and we check.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions?
What was the attic height?
7.8?
7'8" from the attic floor to the underside of the ridge beam.
And the basement square footage, according to the plan, is 1,574 square feet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? I think this witness is questioned out.
All right, I'd like to bring up my last witness, Mr. Nick Graviano for planning.
Okay, Mr. Graviano, you've been sworn in before. You're still under, I'm going to say you're still under oath because I can say that. We already got your qualifications, and have you checked your email?
No, I have not, but I think
Okay,
it's
but you're willing to tell this board that you still think you're qualified, still hold your qualifications as a professional planner?
a little hot, but otherwise okay, yes.
Okay. We don't turn on the air conditioning in the building until May 15th.
We can accept you as an expert in
Thank you.
professional planning.
Okay, so this application, the applicant's actually requesting relief for the floor area ratio variance and for the front yard setback variance. This is a specific piece of property known as Block 4203, Lot 17, 6 Spalding Drive. The applicant is requesting the C variance relief for the front yard setback, whereas 40 feet is required by ordinance. 36.39 is existing, 36.46 is proposed. As you heard in the engineering and surveying testimony, the established average is 36.25. So the applicant is certainly in keeping with that established average. That variance could certainly be granted under the C2 criteria in that it relates to a specific piece of property and that advances purpose of zoning I, promotion of a desirable visual environment and creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. That variance can be granted without substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance, which contemplates this type of relief being requested by the applicants. Moving on, the applicant is requesting the D4 FAR variance. 30% is required. The applicant is at 35.99%. This is an undersized lot. It's roughly 4.8% undersized. However, the applicant is meeting the habitable floor area number, whereas 3220 is permitted and 3214 is proposed. As you saw in the architectural plans, it's certainly a modest house, not going beyond the limits that could be accommodated by the proposed lot. Additionally, you heard the engineering testimony, which indicated that the stormwater management system proposed will be an improvement to what exists in the current condition today. So this board can provide the FAR relief with respect to the positive criteria, advancing purposes A, G, and I of the municipal land use law without substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public want to make any statements regarding this application? He left. Yeah.
I'd waive my summation.
Okay, anybody?
I guess same condition about the attic
Absolutely.
not being living space?
Or the balcony.
Or the balcony, exactly.
Anybody want to make a statement on the board? Does anybody on the board want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Ms. Yuan.
I'll second with the addition of the balcony and the attic.
Ms. Yuan,
Yes.
Mr. Weissman,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Shah. Oh, he's not here. Sorry, never mind. Okay, he's recused. Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to go to 6 or go to Marty? Marty. It's still Mr. Posada.
Amy, you're good. We're done. Yeah, we're just on, no, we're on the next one. What's that?
Okay. Appeal of zoning officer's decision, 64 Hillside Avenue, application number 2025-28-appeal. Yimin Sun and Xuan Shi. Applicant challenges the habitable floor area and habitable floor area ratio calculation of the zoning officer. The basement is being considered a first floor.
All yours.
Good evening, my name is Matthew Posada. I'm with the law firm Sills, Cummins & Gross, and I represent the applicants that are here tonight. It's a two-pronged step, I guess. The first step would be the zoning challenge to the interpretation, and then subject to this board's determination regarding whether or not the basement, the first floor is a basement, or if it's not and it's deemed the first floor, we'll make the contingency as to whether or not we have a habitable floor area ratio and a habitable floor area variance. But nevertheless, I don't want to get the cart before the horse. The first item is the zoning interpretation.
Great, go ahead.
All right. First and foremost, good evening, Marty. Very well, thank you. So the purpose of our attendance here right now is to discuss the zoning denial letter that we are in receipt of. That denial letter is dated October 4th of 2024. In that letter itself, they had an opportunity to review the proposed plans, and when reviewing the proposed plans, they specifically interpret the basement as a first floor. Because of that interpretation, it triggered a slew of other variances related to both the ratio and also the habitable floor area itself. However, when drafting the plans, we were very conscientious of this municipality zoning definition, specifically basement itself. And when you look at the definition for basement, it specifically states, a basement is an area partially or completely below grade with either more than half of its floor-to-ceiling height above the finished grade of the adjoining ground on all sides, or the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above the finished grade of the adjoining ground at any point. In this case, you'll see on the proposed plans themselves from the civil perspective that approximately 54% is above. And then when you take in consideration both what is partial or more than half floor to ceiling, that raises up to a level of 78.5%. So considering the fact that it's more than half, we took the position that this should be interpreted as a basement. But for the de minimis area itself, that is completely above grade. With that being said, I have two professionals that I want to testify tonight in regard to that zoning interpretation. The first is my engineer, Mr. Tom Stearns, who will go through the grading calculations, and then subsequently to that, for the interpretation itself on the definition, will be Mr. Graviano for planning. So if I may call my first witness, I'd like to call Mr. Tom Stearns.
All right, Ms. Stearns, do you swear firm and tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, and we got your name for the record before, and you're remaining to testify tonight and your capacity as an engineer and surveyor.
Correct. I think it's still in good standing.
All right, you haven't checked your email, but we're going
I
to
haven't,
assume
correct,
that.
yes.
Okay. Chairman?
It's all yours.
Terrific. Mr. Stern, can you please walk us through the proposed improvement in the grading calculations?
Sure. So, let's start with the existing site. So this is 64 Hillside. This is lot 39.01, block 3901, lot 76. We have a square footage of 23,877 on this lot. So it's got an average width of 76.5 feet, and approximately depth on the north side is 313, depth on the south side is 319. So this property is has several sloping and level areas. So it has a 45-foot grade change from the front of the property to the rear. Initially, it rises up, and then somewhat of a level open area behind the house, the existing house, which is located toward the front of the property at where this proposed driveway is going. And then it flattens out somewhat, and then in the rear, we have a more sloped area. So the proposal is to remove the existing dwelling and we're proposing a new driveway, garage, and two-story dwelling. So that's the whole crux of this application, is that one of these stories, in our opinion, is in the basement. It's considered a basement level. So it's a two-story with one of them being a basement. So the building, including the garage, is approximately 145 feet toward the rear, which is toward the west of the property. The building is approximately 50 feet wide. It consists of if you look at this design on the front right, so we have our garage entryway on the right. We have an open patio area on the left. We have our upper living space in this location, and on the left side there's a covered walkway, and we have an open area that's for outdoor living, basically. That's adjacent to that basement level. So I'll just go through. So I'll go to the zone chart next. So as far as zoning goes, we have our 15,000 square feet is required. We're at 23,877. Lot width, 100 is required. We're existing nonconformity at 76.5. Front yard setback, 50 is required. So we're setting this new house at 105, and it does trigger a maximum variance for setback. So there is a minimum and maximum. I believe it's 40 and 60. So we are exceeding that maximum, so we're asking for a variance for the proposed front setback. Rear, 40 is required, we're at 57. Side yard left, 10 feet is required, we're at 15, 6.5. Side yard right, 10 is required again, we're at 10, 1.5. So aggregate side yard, 22 is required, 30%, we're at 34%. Habitable floor area. So we meet the square footage for habitable floor area. So 3520 is required. We're at 3497. I'm sorry, wait a second. Okay, yeah, sure. All right. So this number's has to be revised, but so the whole crux of it is that our basement, we consider the basement a basement level, the first level a basement level. And the way we did this was by doing calculations that are shown on this sheet. So basically, the change in the depth of the basement was considered at 6-foot intervals around the entire perimeter of the building. And when we put all those numbers together, we come up with this chart. So we considered the front, the right, the rear, and the left side. All four sides average give us 54% in the ground, where 50% is required. So there's another definition or criteria for basement. The basement has to meet the partial. It's got to be partially in the ground also. So the calculation for partially in the ground is 79%, where 50% is required. So we exceed the partial and the average grade calculation for the basement and the ground.
Well,
We're gonna let Matt finish with his witnesses, and then we can have the Livingston witness appear.
Are there any questions for this witness? Anyone on the board?
Yes.
One at a time.
Get Peter.
Line up.
So if I could just so I understand, the first chart that you put up, this one? I'm sorry, you just go to the first page.
Oh, the
if you
first
want,
page?
on
Yeah,
your
yeah, sure.
form.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
is on my copy, it's grayed out, the first flag at the beginning of the property that you have did you gray that out because that's the part that's above grade?
You're talking about this on the right side or the left side?
I'm sorry, it's the flag, so starting from the beginning of the property. No, I'm sorry, on the left side,
Oh, the left side, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so the grayed out area is the new driveway.
So that's just the new driveway?
That's just a new driveway.
Can you walk us through it? I think this is the easiest map to do.
Sure.
So we understand, and just so we're clear, it slopes up from front to back.
That's
So the
correct.
bottom of this picture to the back.
Yes, right.
Can you indicate to the board right where the property comes or starts to go underground? Like what's above grade and what's, so we
Sure,
can see it?
yeah, and that's actually at the garage level. So the garage level, which is this location, here at the back of that grade area.
So at the back, point that out again, please?
See right here?
Yeah.
That's the garage, so that's where it begins to go underground. And that's elevation 358, that garage elevation.
Okay, so it's all flat, and just to be clear, the building's staying, the structure's staying flat, but that's where the slope of the land starts to go up. So
Correct.
That's the
So-
beginning, so right at that green line, we'll call it an inch underground at that green line.
Correct,
Okay, I just
yes.
want to know visually what we're looking
And then in
at.
the back, if you look, I
Yep.
could zoom in here.
Yeah,
into
how
the
far
back.
under is that, yeah?
So this back contour is 370, and then we have 371, 372. So 372 is our maximum underground point, which is going to be 14 feet in the ground at that location. So we have 358 minus the 372. Gives us 14 feet in the ground at that right rear corner of the building.
Okay, and if I could finish my question, because you put the total square feet with what you're calling the basement floor, but if you were, I don't see it, maybe I missed it, the calculation of square feet, if we adopted your interpretation, and I'm curious, is that square footage that I'm referring to, is it carving out that front part that's underground? Is it carving out more of that? I'm sorry, that's above ground, is it carving out more that's a little, I'm trying to get an understanding.
Yeah, sure. So the square footage of the basement is approximately 5190 square feet. That doesn't include the garage, and it doesn't include that open courtyard area. Because for habitable floor area,
So just, maybe I can't answer the board member's question. What you're seeing in terms of the variances on your sheet versus what they're putting onto their plans, the applicant is stating that the basement area under their position is excluded. So the overall numbers go down, and therefore they're within the standards.
Right.
But if you count the basement, then the numbers as shown on our agenda are the ones that then become applicable. And I think your question may be, do you end up excluding the whole basement or a portion of the basement? And it's like the old joke about a pizza pie. Once it's a pizza, it's a pizza. So if it's excluded, it's excluded. If it's not excluded, it's not excluded.
Is that, well, I guess that maybe it's a question for, that I want to ask council, because just to give a hypothetical, just so I understand it, right? Let's say you had a flat property that's flat the whole time, and then it jumps up at the very end 10 feet. high, and you built the whole building, and the last, few little feet were under the, what was in the ground because Counsel, are you saying that you would exclude that entire basement?
No, what I'm saying is that based on the particular application of the zoning ordinance, and eventually you're gonna hear from the zoning officer, you're gonna hear from
Okay,
him.
yeah.
Okay, and he can give more, clarity on that. But basically, there is a certain magic number that certain percentage that has to be met, okay, for it to be considered a basement. And that's where this is
And
coming.
it's all or none per floor, not based upon room. It's an all or none is,
It's one basement. So if.
The whole floor.
Is it a basement or is it not a basement? Does it count in or doesn't it count in? It's an either or. There's no half measures. So
Okay.
if it qualifies as a basement under the ordinance, then it's out. If it doesn't qualify as a basement under the ordinance, it's in. The question is, that all you get to decide is it under the standard under the town ordinance for being considered a basement under the standard in the town ordinance, which you're gonna hear more about. There's more to come.
okay, all right.
You go,
Got it.
then I'll go.
I'm on page 3 of, I think, the architectural, so that has the layout of the basement / first floor.
Z2? Right side.
Is that Z3?
Right side.
Yeah, Z2, sorry.
Oh, Z2, okay.
Okay, so there's obviously a walkway up to the house, and I go up 3 steps, if I read this correctly, to get to that landing. I go around, and then I go up another step to get to the front door. Is that correct?
Yes,
So I go 4 steps up to get in the front door of this house, and when I walk in the house, it's then a level area. I don't step back down again.
correct, right.
Okay. Second question. How do you have this gallery and art gallery. How is that accessed? Can I access that from the interior of the house?
That's from the interior of the house, yeah, from the upper, I guess from the rear, we have,
So that says there's a courtyard, so I'm trying to figure out how I access it. Am I accessing it from the interior or the exterior of the home?
I believe from the interior it is, from the,
So- but
the
there-
back, we have that back covered stair.
Well, there's a courtyard there too.
Right, there's a hallway, see the hallway to the art gallery? Hallway / art gallery.
Okay, how do I access that hallway?
That's from the back, from the rear steps, from
The
above.
rear steps, that is from the interior of the home?
That is
From
correct,
the second
yes.
floor of the home or the first floor of the home?
The first floor,
Okay.
which is the upper.
That courtyard, so around that area, there's a courtyard that is outdoor space, is that correct?
Yes, correct, yes.
Okay.
But
Similarly,
there's a wall from that, so that hallway art gallery is a covered walkway or hallway.
And I can access the courtyard, it looks like from, if I'm reading this correctly, right in front of the powder room. Well, no, I'm trying to understand what is interior, exterior space as to whether I consider it, in my view, it's basement or not.
Right, but how the layout is how we.
Well, but no, it goes back to the courtyard.
One second.
Sorry.
What I was saying is that for the specific layout of the interior itself, Mr. Graviano could testify to that.
Right, my question really isn't about the interior, it's really about the exterior spaces.
Sure.
Right, so there's a courtyard there,
Okay,
right, that is an exterior space, that is outdoors, this courtyard.
that is correct, yes.
Similarly, this large courtyard in the middle, if I read this plan correctly, you step up 1 step from either the dining room or the kitchen to enter that courtyard, which is outdoor space, correct?
The middle courtyard, the large one.
Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay, I got a couple of questions, and like his, kind of float between the two. Going just to that lower level on page Z2, just because I'm going to go back to your calculations in a second, but am I correct that on, the downstairs area on the left side on Z2, there's no steps or anything on this whole lower level that, it's all one level, correct? From the home theater all the way back to the foyer, the only steps are from the garage up to whatever into that level, and the whole level's flat.
That's correct, yes.
So can you help me understand on your calculations why you have ceiling heights that go from 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet?
Yeah, so let me go to that page.
The total floor height? Like, why would the floor height change at all if it's flat?
So those 9-foot floor heights, they are regarding the garage. So the garage has a different floor height.
But what about, you got floor heights like 12 feet, 9 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet?
So
There's
on
only
the,
two then.
okay, so on the right side, the 9-foot ones initially are the garage height, and then they go to 12. Let's see.
You're going up 3 feet with 2 steps from the garage to the house?
So here's the right side here. So we have, so here's our garage floor at 9 feet at this location. And then we come back, we step up, and we have, before it goes to 12 foot, there's another area at this location. So this area is 10 foot. I believe this is the hallway. The gallery hallway has a lower height than the other areas.
Not according to the, you still have on, well, you do have the left and right mixed up on the plans, but what would be what you're calling the right side, which is really the left side of the house. So the right side, you have 9 foot, 12 foot, 10 foot. I mean, I don't get how 8 foot, still, I still don't get how there's multiple heights.
If I may, Mr. Graviano will be testifying to the architectural plans itself, and that will include the testimony of the elevations, so he can address that breakdown.
Okay, and then.
And if you would like, I'll call him up to answer your questions. I feel your questions are more like a package deal, right? 'Cause they play
Well,
off
the
each
only other
other.
one I have, and I mean, I could say it, and then if he wants to answer that one too. I mean, it just looks like on the plans where you're showing the building coverage, that you're including the garage as part of the basement instead of the garage being the garage. I mean, that area shouldn't be part of the basement either, if what you're calling the basement, because it's a garage. You can't be both things. And the square footage, obviously, of the garage is more than 450, so there is habitable floor area that's added from the garage back into the house as well. It's not just garages not included. Back to Peter's original question about the garage square footage.
Was that a question to me, or?
Well, it was a question, but if you want Nick to answer it, you could.
Yeah, I'd like to have Mr. Graviano
Yep.
answer. If I may,
Yes, let's get him involved.
yes.
All right. Mr. Graviano, why don't we swear you in? You swear for and tell the truth tonight to the zoning board?
I do.
All right, and we have Mr. Graviano, is he going to be testifying in his capacity as an architect or planner?
He owns an architectural firm.
This
so
will
he's-
be in terms of design and zoning context.
Okay, so still was
Planner.
a
Planner.
planner,
Planner.
Okay.
He's done
Okay.
this before.
and he'll do it again.
We can accept him.
Terrific. And your license is still in good standing?
Yes.
Terrific. Because you're looking at your phone. Can you please walk us through, A, the question Mr. Sherman just asked, and then also B, what the elevations are in the interior for that basement floor?
Mr. Sherman poses a very valid question regarding those floor heights, but it's a little bit easier to understand when it's broken down. The garage is at 9 feet height of the ceiling height. The gallery, which is the walkway from the rear courtyard to the front of the house, that is a 10-foot ceiling height. The bulk of the living space on that basement level is at 12 feet in height. So that creates the variation in the ceiling heights of the proposed dwelling.
I guess when you're looking at your plans, though, on what you have labeled as right, which is that side of the hallway, which is really the left side of the house, why then does it, like, when you're going down, I know it's every whatever you said, every 6 feet or whatever it was that was measured, when you're going down, there's that one side of the house, why would it change? It should be pretty much that even thing, almost from front to back, because there's nothing on that whole side of the house except for the 90% of it's the hallway.
I understand your question, and these are conceptual plans. They obviously need to be vetted a little bit more in the construction phase. However, this is a two-part application. The first part is the interpretation of whether or not this should be included as a basement. We haven't gotten to that point yet, which you've heard the engineering testimony that's gone through the math. The math shows that it does meet the ordinance definition of basement. I'm going to dig into that a little bit deeper. And I don't want to say that your question at this point is irrelevant, but I think when we dig deeper into picking apart that definition of basement and looking at what's excluded from the floor area ratio calculations, you're going to see that the applicant's proposal meets the town's definition of basement.
I want to add a little question following Mr. Sherman's question. Basically, I agree with Mr. Sherman. Whether the left side or the right side, when we look at the table, at the very last row, it's an average, right, of all the numbers. And the question actually asks why the ceiling height changes. That actually, whether you take out some lines, that may actually change your final average number. So that's my question, I want to just add to Mr. Sherman's question.
That's certainly a valid analysis. However, I would like to note that the basement definition has two different criteria that the applicant can meet to meet that definition of basement. And what these intervals are really irrelevant because it's clear that the applicant will meet that definition. The definition of basement in its second part requires that the applicant have 4 feet above grade at any point, and it's obvious that the applicant does. So it's clear that that part of the definition is met. And I'm not saying that there's issues with the heights and the grades and everything, but when you look at that one prong of the definition of basement, it's clear the applicant meets it, and it excludes this living space from being part of the calculation for the FAR, the habitable floor area and the habitable floor area ratio.
Are there any questions for this witness from the board?
Because I think we need to provide Sgraviano's testimony, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Mr. Graviano, have you had an opportunity to review the zoning code?
Yes, I have.
Have you had an opportunity to review the zoning code as it relates for definition for habitable floor area ratio, and basement?
Yes, I have.
Have you also had an opportunity to review the zoning denial dated October 2024?
Yes, I have.
Can you please walk through your analysis?
Certainly. So the crux of the applicant's first part of their application is appeal of the zoning officer's decision that the basement living space is not basement living space, it actually is first floor space, and should be included in the habitable floor area and the habitable floor area ratio calculation. So when examining this, you must look at the definition of basement in the municipality's land use code. basement is defined as an area partially or completely below grade, comma, with either more than half of its floor-to-ceiling height above the finished grade of the adjoining ground on all sides, or with the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above the finished grade of the adjoining ground at any point. So an applicant can satisfy that definition of basement through two different tests. The first one being with either more than half of its floor-to-ceiling height above the finished grade of the adjoining ground on all sides, which you heard Mr. Stern's testimony that this proposal meets that part of the definition. And this is the second part of the definition, which there is no question that the applicant meets this part. Or with the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above the finished grade on the adjoining ground at any point. So this applicant's proposal obviously has the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above the finished grade at any point. So clearly meets that second part of the basement test. So therefore, as per Livingston zoning code, the applicant's proposed space is a basement. Furthermore, when you look at the habitable floor area ratio calculation, in any residential building, any basement, cellar, or attic, including walkout basements, and the first 450 square foot of any garage space shall not be included in the calculation of the habitable floor area. So the applicant meets the definition of basement, therefore that habitable space in the basement should not be calculated towards the habitable floor area ratio requirement.
I have no further questions for this witness.
I have one question, I guess. Just, I know we're gonna hear from Marty, but just to throw it back at you, the second part of that definition, where you say the 4 feet at any point, you're saying that any point, like, just as long as you have 1 point that's above 4 feet? Or is it any point you go around that house, you have to at least hit 4 feet, anywhere around the entire perimeter? Not just one spot, all spots?
No, the definition clearly states at any point.
Yeah, any point. Yeah, at any point you pick.
It
but-
doesn't say at all points, it says at any point. So any point could be one singular point. Yeah, and that also ties into the first part of the definition, which says an area partially or completely below grade, which is the first part of that definition, which applies to either scenario. So whether you're meeting more than half of its floor-to-ceiling height at the finished grade of the adjoining ground, or if you're meeting the 4 feet above finished grade at any point, the area can be completely or partially below grade.
So the only question about that, though, is are you saying that you could have a house on a lot that, kind of going back to what Peter said, that you could have a house on a lot and you could have one small wall that is partially submerged by a foot of dirt or 2 feet of dirt, and you're going to classify that whole floor as a basement because all the rest of it is above 4 feet?
As per the definition, yes. That's the way the definition's constructed.
I still have a question. Still going back to that table on the left side. If we take out the garage area, basically on front, zone area 4, if we take out the first 6 points, and then on block 5, if you take out the first, again, 6 points, will that change any of your calculation at the bottom, where that's the number that we use to define, to meet the criteria of the basement, right?
It may change the calculation, however, it doesn't change the fact that there's a finished,
In the definition, there's a more than half. And
Well,
then right
the-
here, you have a 54%, I understand. But if we take out the garage area, you know, a garage is a garage, you know, if that table does not contain the 12 points that we use,
I believe it'll be
or
more
18
conservative.
points.
It'll be more conservative.
Is there any way you could show us that table, you know?
I just want to add that the showing of that table is not necessary to meet the prong of this definition because it's clear that the applicant has met the finished grade above the joint, has met the, or with the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above the finished grade of the adjoining ground at any point. The applicant doesn't have to meet both parts of that definition. The applicant only needs to meet one part of that definition because there is an or in there.
I understand.
So,
I just want to see
we-
that table.
We
Yeah, that's all.
felt we met both of those definitions, but based on your questioning, even if we didn't meet that first part, we meet that second part. So that first part is irrelevant. We meet that second part of that definition of basement.
But real quick.
I hear your answer, but again, since you present to us a table, right? And then we're all looking at the table and we wanna, you know, why are we looking at the table? There's a reason, right? And then we all see it, but then my question is, again, if we take out the garage, what's the table will be? It may help the case, it may not, we don't know, but I'm just asking, is there any way I could see that table? That's
We
all.
can answer that question.
Thank you.
And the question is very simple, and I understand it's straightforward, right? It's if we include the garage or exclude the garage, how does it change the math? Mr. Stearns, can you answer that question for us?
Yes, so it'll make it more conservative. The percentage will go up if you exclude the garage. So currently, the garage is included. It'll be more conservative if you exclude it.
The number will be higher than 54%?
The percentage will be higher,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
One more thing. I just want to go back to that whole second part of the sentence. I don't know. I just take issue with your interpretation because it doesn't say at any one point. It says at any point, which to me means any point around what you're considering the basement area. It would be at, pick a point around the whole thing. It's got to be 4 feet. Not any one point, not just pick a point, and just because that one point's 4 feet, it doesn't say any one point, it says any point.
I get why some of you may be struggling with this because, you know, this is based on a very intricate design, which is not commonly seen. But I think what is being overlooked is that the first part of that definition is an area partially or completely below grade. So that area that's partially below grade that has the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above the finished grade at any point satisfies that part of partially below grade.
And Mr. Graviano, wouldn't you say there's a reasonableness to that definition of partial?
Yes. Because if you took it at all points, you know, that would be, you know, that gets into a complete. It's not a partial.
You could have a partial at any point, but if you're going to take the second part of the definition, it could be partially, obviously, if you have 4 feet above grade, that's partially submerged, so, but that would be that anywhere around the perimeter would have to at least have 4 feet above grade, and that's partially submerged, so it still answers the same first part of the definition. It's not fully submerged, but you couldn't be fully submerged if you want the 4 feet.
I think the way you're looking at it, the definition would read and instead of or. Here it's clearly or, giving an applicant 2 possible scenarios to meet this basement definition.
Okay, I think we should hear from Marty, if that's okay. But I'm also looking at this from another perspective. I guess I'm looking at this on a grander scheme and not really, I mean, we've never seen anything like this before, ever. I've been on the board 6 years, and I've never seen anything like this before. So, what?
That makes 2 of us.
Okay. So I think that, like, we're all sort of struggling with this concept, because to me, it's also, like, what kind of Pandora's box does this open, right? and where do we go from here? So I'm thinking about this on a much larger scale. I also think that looking at an 8,500 square foot living space, that's a lot of space. I mean, you can't say that it's not, that's a lot of space. And I think we have, to me, the way I'm looking at it, I'm not an engineer or an architect, so I'm looking at it differently. I'm looking at it, is this the right thing to do? So I would really like to hear from Marty and hear what he has to say, and then maybe we can put all this together and talk about it, because I don't really get this. I think nobody really gets this. So let's hear what he has to say, and then we can just maybe take it to the next point. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So, do you, Sada, you were done, Mr. Graviano, right? Yes? Yes, I knew you would say that. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth for the zoning board tonight? All right, can we please have your, state and spell your name for the record?
Sure, Martin Cherlanzio, it's CHIAROLANZIO.
All right, yeah, just identify your
I'm the
title.
zoning officer for the Township of Livingston for the past 19 and a half years.
Okay.
And just to that effect, we've never seen a house like this. The design is very unique. I've been a carpenter for all my life, and I had a hard time deciphering levels and what I'd be looking at to build it. So it is a unique building. With that being said, I think our problem is, although the numbers work, I understand your numbers for the definition, but typically a basement is under the first floor. In this case, the basement's bigger than the first floor. And as to what Ms. Khan was saying, this is a unique thing, and what are we gonna do? Are we gonna have people then be able to build a basement much larger than the piece that's sticking up out of the ground, although most of this is out of the ground? So that's why we questioned it and we added it to our calculation. It is a unique thing, and I wanted the board to weigh in on it and have a decision, because right now, this isn't your typical first floor basement. You have your first floor and you have your basement. And that's where we were coming from, even with the numbers. And we don't want to open up a Pandora's box and then have people start building out these huge basements and putting, a house that, just meets the coverages and setbacks and things like that, and that's why we're here. So I understand the numbers, I get it, but that's my issue, and I didn't want to be the one to say, yes, this works, and then have to listen to all the rest of the neighbors and listen to the next application and everybody coming down the pike. I figure, let's nip this in the bud, let's get it before the board, we'll hear your side, we'll hear this side, and we'll decide. And that's why we're here. I mean, I like the house, I think on the property, it'll fit. It's not gonna, it's kind of big on the side, but, from the front, it would look good. But, and that was my thinking on it.
So, if I can, you've heard testimony from Ms. Stearns and Mr. Graviano about the particular ordinance in question.
Correct.
Do you agree that that is the ordinance that is applicable to the board tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so and the way that Mr. Stearns and Mr. Graviano stated the ordinance, not their opinion, but the way they stated the ordinance, that is the correct wording to your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. And also, I'm sorry, Chair, my own question here.
Feel free.
This is a little bit of going to use a legal word so that we can bill heavily for it. Due to this conundrum, the one of the questions asked by the board members, and I forget who it was, I don't think we really ended up getting clarity on this. The garage. Is the garage to you, as a zoning officer, in this set of circumstances, under this reading of the ordinance, is the garage in or out?
The first 450 square feet of the garage is out. anything over that is in.
Okay. And, all right, so everything after the garage is the point of contention, so to speak. Is it
Correct.
in or is it out?
Correct, it's in, after the garage.
Right, so, so just so the board's aware, your interpretation is that everything is in, and the garage, my question to you is, regardless if the rest of the basement is in or out, the garage has its own separate calculation?
Correct, there's an exception for the first 450 square feet of a garage not to be included in the number in the habitable floor area.
I actually have a question, Marty. Reading the definition, which was repeated numerous times, over the ceiling of the space more than 4 feet above grade. Wouldn't it be less than 4 feet above grade to have the issue? Because if it's 12 feet above grade, it's out of ground.
Yeah, that definition's always been a challenge to interpret, but.
Because I don't get it.
Well, typically, it's easy. It's either a basement or it isn't. In this case, it's not easy. And with the basement being larger than the first floor, that's my problem. Do we just say that, you know, a typical basement is under the first floor or smaller than the first floor, not larger than the first floor? So this, even though it meets the definition, it's not a typical basement.
Marty,
to me.
I'm sorry, Marty, but would you say that because of the site's unique slopage that it experiences from the front to the rear, because you're going from what we'll term as zero, and it slopes up to the back, and I can't read it from here, but you get to
Approximately 14 feet.
14
From the
feet.
garage to the back of the house.
Over how many?
Over 150 feet.
Over 150 feet. Now, I didn't go to engineering school, but that's a significant slope. Would you agree on that?
Yeah.
And that is somewhat unusual in the township
Yes.
to have those type of slopes, because it's not known as a steep slope
Well,
community
we've had those type of slopes before, but
on an individual lot.
we've had those type of slopes before, but typically the houses are side to side, not front to back, so you might have that cut into the bank.
Right, that's my
But
point.
it wouldn't be so deep. It would just be the width of the house.
Right, so this is really the first time you're seeing where the house is, in essence, going into that significant of a grade.
Right, that much.
And it's exacerbated by the length of the house being so long.
Yes, and then the fact, like you said, the basement's bigger than the first floor. It's
Right.
not, to me, a basement. It's an extension of the basement, but I don't know.
Whoops, sorry. The other question, Marty, is it also exacerbated at the fact that they pushed the house back another 100 feet beyond the allowable setback, which means that you're now more into the slope and out of the flat area and out of the...
I can't say, because I don't know the topography of if the angle is the same angle all the way up or the same slope all the way up, or if it goes higher.
I would say not
towards the back.
necessarily, if I could. Well, it's 45 feet from the front street to the back. So if you bring it forward, actually, there's a steeper slope in the front. So you would start lower and you would, we have a steeper driveway to get up to that level. So if you brought it forward, it would be in the ground even more, I believe.
But you also, right, you testified that there was the part where the house is now, and then behind the house, it flattens out, and then it then goes back up.
It
as you
flattens
go
out to
further.
10%.
Right, no, I
Right.
understand, but
Yeah.
it would be less of a grade, right?
Well, if you pulled it forward,
Yeah,
you'd be in the ground more. No, you'd be in the ground more if you pulled it forward.
why?
I don't understand that.
No,
You'd be
because
in the
the
ground less.
initial because you'd have to meet the initial grade. So the initial grade is a steeper slope. So if you pull forward, you'd have to drop the house more.
The grade lines look like they get closer as you go to the back. That would indicate a
But also in the front, though, the front has a, so behind the house is the more, less sloping area, if I want to put it that way, and then the last probably 40 or 50, last 50 feet is very sloping. So, but you'd have to have your driveway, your garage work, so you'd have to drop your garage at that front location if you pulled it forward.
Why couldn't the garage be exactly where the garage is?
Now, because your driveway would be
Yeah, where the
too-
house is
Your
now.
driveway would be too steep then.
It's what it is today, isn't it?
Like I walked it tonight, and at first, you have, actually your driveway is cut into divided by two walls, and then your house is up several steps. So when you come out of the back, it's quite a bit higher than the road, just from a depth standpoint, the initial depth of it.
So Marty touched on the basement being larger than the house, and that, to me, is a little bit of a sticking point. Even if, I'm not suggesting this or anything, but even if you were to double it, I mean, it seems tremendous to me. And I'm not quite sure I understand why the basement needs to be so large. I mean, is there a reason in designing why the basement had to be so large? I mean, clearly, it's so you have more living space. I guess that's a rhetorical question. But it just seems, I'm trying to square this again, like no one has seen this, so we're all trying to figure it out at the same time. I'm just not understanding some of the numbers.
Understood. If I may interject, from hearing the comments of the board and also the comments of Marty as well, I think one of the main concerns is exactly what you just brought up, Ms. Khan, is the question of the basement size, right? Because the basement's larger than the first floor. And because of that, that is Marty's issue. There is not an issue per se with the definition of satisfying it, but rather that size. So with that being said, we would agree as a concession to this board that we will make the basement floor plan the same size as the first floor plan, if that were to be acceptable to this board.
I wasn't suggesting that you do that. I was just saying that it was very large.
I have a knack for picking up what's putting down.
One other question. I mean, the other thing that makes this, a couple of things that make this unique is, number one, having an entry that would be in the basement to the house, having all the living things like kitchen, dining room, all those things on the what you call the basement of a house. I understand having a second kitchen in a basement, but not the primary kitchen. And then now you also have this outdoor courtyard. So now you have this outdoor space. So adding this outdoor space to me means that now that outdoor space is now great. So you now put ground in the middle of this thing, so that's actually now grade level. The other sides are now retaining walls. So, I mean, if this is what makes it complicated. If it's an open area in the middle, it's now ground level, it's all open with windows. This is not a basement. It's surrounded in the middle, like by other walls. It's, even the back wall where the steps are, it's a retaining wall holding back the 14 feet of dirt. I mean, it's not no courtyard, different story maybe, but I mean, you're adding this open area in the middle of a plan.
Can I ask a related question to that? So walk me through on this level, I'm not calling it anything yet, windows. So if I read this correctly, there's the front door, so that's the exit way outside. There's a window in this area by the living room into the courtyard. There are several windows. There's a window opposite the staircase. I'm guessing some sort of doors from the dining area into the courtyard. Again, doors or something from the kitchen into the courtyard. Window from the family room into the courtyard. Are those there's no, on the right side of the house on Z2, is there any windows? There's a light well, I think is what it says, behind the staircase.
I'll touch on that.
Sure.
This scenario, while it looks different than what you see in many of the typical houses, this is no different than a walkout basement. Now, walkout basements are at grade for full wall height, where there's windows on the basement wall out to the yard. This applicant just chose a design where there's an enclosed external space within the dwelling. It's a very common scenario in other parts of the country and in other parts of the world, but it's no different than a walkout basement.
Your view. I grew up in a house that had a little courtyard in the middle. It was 5 feet by 5 feet. This is outdoor space. This courtyard, you don't have measurements of it, but I'm guessing it's gotta be 50 feet long. Can we get the measurements for the?
It's 52 and a half feet long.
Pretty good there, huh? By what? About
By
15?
about 20, 25.
Okay, so 1,000 square feet or something like that, if I
A
do the
little
math
more
with
than,
my head?
a little more than 1,000, yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty large outdoor space. So that's where I struggle to view this as a basement, in all honesty.
Okay, I'm just going to make a comment, and then you guys chime in. I think this has been going on a long time, but you hear what we're saying. You've heard from almost every single member on the board. So my suggestion, and we can ask the chair, is to go back, take our comments, fix it, make it smaller, do what you need to do in order to sort of come back and have, make a presentation to us based on our comments. Because I think we can go round and round and round for 2 hours, but we have to, sort of tie this up. But unless you have anything else you want to say, unless anybody else on the board has anything else they want to say, you've heard our comments, and I think that we should maybe.
I'll just chime in that I'm troubled too. I understand what you said. I appreciate what you said and the engineering behind it and everything else. But I'm just, with all of these, there's so much going on here. I'm having trouble, and we didn't even talk about how far back the house is, which is a whole nother. I think that just becomes wall. I'll say it now. I think that becomes walls to the neighbors, and I have a concern about the positioning of the new house. But we didn't have testimony really to that or anything else. But that's kind of where I'm seeing things. But please.
I think Ms. Khan has an excellent recommendation. And we're going to, beyond entertain that, we are going to ask for a recess and carry this to the next hearing so that we can have our opportunity to go back to the drawing boards, take into consideration the comments of this board. The only thing I would ask before we request the adjournment and then you move on to the next application is that are there any other comments that this board would want to say so that we can take that into consideration so that we really do get a complete bite of the apple?
I only have one other thing to
Please.
say. Just in regard to what Nick said, yes, I understand the definition of walkout basement, but and having that where there's windows and doors, but here, if you're going to do that, then you're walking into a yard. So if you're going to do that with a courtyard, then the courtyard then is a yard, because then it's not a walkout. So then my only other point is the art hallway, which, I'm glad it says art hallway on here, and maybe that's what it will be. But in my opinion, the art hallway, being a hallway, is sole purpose in this whole drawing is to be a giant, long retaining wall down that whole side to hold back the dirt on that one side to be able to have the courtyard and call this a basement, and I'll just leave it at that.
Anybody else on the board have any comment? Please, Peter.
Yeah, first, it's a question for our counsel, because this is a legal interpretation, so it's different than a variance, so we have to make that legal determination. So first, can we go in at some other point in time, Joe, can we go in closed session to get your legal advice?
No, not really. So let me say this, if I can, Chair, to piggyback off of Mr. Weissman's question. The board at this point has not yet rendered its decision on the interpretation of the ordinance. There's been some significant commentary about the building, which, quite honestly, I think is related to the issue of the interpretation of the ordinance in this particular set of circumstances. as Mr. Posada and also Mr. Graviano know from our legal experience, there's questions of fact and questions of law, right? And I think what you've heard a lot tonight is a question of fact. But really, that fact is reflective of what the question of law is. Because there, quite honestly, could be interpretation that by making the courtyard and what you've effectively made is a first floor. Arguably. Some guy could say that. We've got 90,000 attorneys out there. Somebody's going to come up with some opinion about that. But going to Mr. Weissman's question about my opinion, all I would say is this. You sit as a quasi-judicial board. You have an ordinance which is being presented to you for your decision and interpretation. You've heard from the zoning officer that the ordinance in question is the ordinance to eventually be discussed, and it's your responsibility, not tonight, but at some point in the future, to do two things. Number one is to ultimately render a decision on that open question. And number two, to then, based on the result of that answer, determine what, if any, variances are left over for the applicant. But it sounds to me like the applicant's going to go back and take another look and see what is to be presented, which may change the nature of the question to the board. Because I think, as you've heard from Marty, this really isn't, obviously Marty knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for 19 years. I mean, he likes to tell us he does. But he knows what he's doing. So you've heard his testimony. His testimony was, this was so unusual, I presented it to you. And I think everybody agrees with that. So at this point, I think going back to Mr. Weissman's question, this is something where, by virtue of perhaps a change in the presentation, may ultimately change your determination about whether or not this applies. That's it. I'm done. I mean, everybody's looking at me like I got more. I don't got more. That's it.
That was great. I just want to say one more thing, and then I'll be done. So I think that this is also, like I said earlier, we're deciding precedent. So we have to be really careful about what we do, because when we do something, you know, every application we look at in a vacuum, like in a silo, when we really try and look at, you know, each one separately. But there are precedents. So we have to be sure that when we make this decision, we make the right decision, because if we do this, it's going to affect everything. So sort of keep that in mind, and also everything. But I think that, to me, that's a really important part.
If I could just say one thing, just to clarify, I know there's a question about the size of the open space in the lower level. That open space wasn't included in the basement calculation, just so everyone knows. I don't know if you know or not.
Understood, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so to the extent it comes back in some form where it's relevant for the interpretation, obviously you might change it entirely and it's irrelevant, but I would like, and I don't know if it's Mr. Posada, Mr. Graviano, do you have a law degree? I said you went to Temple Law? Yes. Oh, so you do, so that might be most relevant to you. So my questions would be, I don't know if it's for the rest of the board, when we say an area partially or completely, so that indicates that it could be, you're not going to take my analysis of just cut it right where it's above ground and below ground, because it's already indicating that an area could be both above ground and underground. But I don't know that that word area in the statute necessarily means the entire almost 5,000 square feet. So if you're coming back, what I'd like to see is whatever case law, and I'm sure it's pretty much the standard definition throughout New Jersey, what case law there is on the definition of area, so we understand that it would include the entire 5,000 square feet. as opposed to some other portion thereof. And rather than me doing the research, you're appealing to us. I'd like you to come back with that. And then the other question, to Todd's excellent question, is what is grade? We sort of have a sense of what grade is, but I think he brought up an excellent point that if somebody were to regrade a property and put a like at the very back, especially a property like this, if you were to grade the whole thing flat and put, I know it's every 4 feet, but put retaining walls, you could regrade a property, I think. So I'd want to know what is the definition of grade, because you're asking us for a legal interpretation. I'd like some more feedback on what you think the law is on those two terms, area and grade.
Now, you didn't do that on the mic, so you want to say that on the mic so the client gets to hear that?
Yes, that's absolutely acceptable.
Okay.
Jackie, when is the availability for them to come back?
And actually, I apologize. Could we adjourn for 2 cycles? Because I think we're going to need more time than just a couple of weeks.
I don't think this is, I think you might need to.
Yeah, I think you're.
Jackie's saying 2027?
Mr. Chairman, the next available hearing date will be July 22nd.
July 22nd?
Terrific.
Excellent.
Lots of time.
Okay.
All right.
Adjourn to July 22nd.
And no further notice?
No further notice is required.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night.
Do you want to do that now? Hold on. No. Okay. Council was in my ear for a second.
22nd.
All right, take care. Want to take a break for?
Okay, 15 Sparrow Drive, application number 2025-16-V, Bala Ratha Krishnan. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family home in violation of the following sections: 170-98C2, front yard setback, 50 feet required, 47.5 feet proposed, 2.5 feet variance requested. 170-87CC3, habitable floor area ratio, 21% allowed, 24.3% proposed, 3.3% variance requested.
So, sir, let's have your name for the record.
Bala Radhakrishnan, Rathakrishanan.
Okay, and you're the property owner, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so you have the architect, Cedra, and Mr. Graviano for you tonight?
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to start off with Mr. Cedra, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do it again? Right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay. And let's have your name on the record, please.
Sure. Ayman Cedra. Last name is Cedra, S-E-D-R-A.
Okay. And qualified as an architect?
Yes.
Okay.
And we can accept him as that.
I will walk you through the plans for this house. This is a single-family house. We are proposing all the living spaces at the first floor with two-car garage, side-loaded. And we have also a guest bedroom at the first floor. We have a covered patio at the back. The size of the livable area at the first floor is 1,627. The garage area is 502. To the left of that, we have the basement. The basement consists of one big open space. It's going to be used for recreation. And we have we have another bedroom in the basement with its own bathroom and closet. We have a small media room and mechanical room. And also, this is a walkout basement with stairs at the rear. The basement area is 1,627. The second sheet, AO2, On the left, we have the second floor, consists of 4 bedrooms with their own bathrooms and closets. And also we have a laundry room. We have a 2-story foyer. The area for the 2-story is 100 square feet. And this 100 square feet at the second floor is counted, but it's not used. It's only used at the first floor. The second floor area is 1,820. We have a floor area ratio of 3,499, and that's 24%, 24.3%. So we're applying for a 3.3% variance. On the right side is the area diagram. I just want to mention there is a small discrepancy or drafting error, rather. The garage says 502 square feet not counted. That's not correct, actually. The area that's not counted is 450. So we have 52 square feet. If you do the numbers and you add this 52 square feet to the first floor and the second floor, it will give you the 3,499. The exterior of the building, actually we have a rendering which wasn't part of this filing, so I can mark it with A1.
Mark it as A1. This is an exterior rendering.
Yes.
Color? Go ahead.
So the exterior of the building, this is a colonial style home. We have a stone at the first floor, full height stone walls. We have hardy shingles at the second floor, dark roofs, white windows. We have also all the windows, they're casement. And the rest of the house matches the rest of the house. We're gonna use 6-inch lap siding on the 2 sides and the back. We have a balcony as well at the back. The family room is only 1-story family room. It's not 2-story, just a single-story family room. Regarding the second floor, we have a pull-down stair. So the attic is only accessible through pull-down stair. The height in the attic from the attic floor to the highest ridge is 5'8", and as you see, the roofs, they're hip roofs, so there is no windows around the attic whatsoever, just a roof space. That's all.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just walk me through the family room again, because it's a little confusing looking at this. So from the second story, the roof slopes, what's the height of that family room?
The plate starts at 13 feet and goes up. So the family room roof plate is 13 feet and the rafters start to go up until it meets the second floor ceiling.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? Please come forward.
I'm Joe DeMayo from 8 Sparrow, diagonally across the street. I just did the math from what you were saying. I think there was another number there. It's about 5,100 square feet this house is. Using the basement. Now, the basement does have a slider. It has 9-foot ceilings. So it is, as you said, it's living space, recreational space. It's got bathrooms down there and whatnot. The house that's going up right next door to me, brand new. It's gonna have 6 bedrooms. It's gonna have 6 bathrooms. It's only about 3,500 square feet. This house is huge. And the 2 houses next to it, the house that's existing right now, I don't know if you walk the property.
One second.
It
This
is
is just for
very-
a question. If you want to make a statement,
Okay.
you can
The
make a statement later, so please ask a question.
My question is, why do you need to move the house up 2.5 feet and have a variance when the house is already 5,100 square feet? If you brought it back 2.5 feet, what would that do to the square footage?
Well, we're matching the average front on the neighboring houses. So that's allowed by code.
Is it, but isn't the variance 2.5 feet? Did it
Yeah,
come up
it's-
2.5 feet?
But our code does allow for an averaging of lots on, houses on either side. That's what the architect has done, so he took an average. So the idea, I believe, is that you don't have staggering houses all over the place.
So we don't
right?
have a variance, or we do have a variance?
We do have a variance, but part of the code, our code allows for averaging when all the houses are further than the required setback.
All right, so maybe this is a question for you. The house that's next to that house is diagonal on a corner.
not
Where did you say that house started? Where was the front door, because the house is much smaller and it's on an angle. So I'm not really sure of how you got that average.
Well, we measure the front yard of, even if the house is diagonal, we measure the front yard at the shortest dimension. So we take that number and we use it.
Okay, I mean, I'll take your word for it, but I mean, I live across the street. I'm very pressed to
That's,
see.
what number is that house that's on the diagonal? Is that 17?
That should be 17, yeah. So,
Yeah, number 17,
So is
lot
this some-
1, the front yard setback is 40 feet, .62 feet.
So that's kind of skewing things a little bit.
Yeah.
That's skewing the numbers.
I mean, that's my only question. You know, I know there's a variance of 2.5 feet, and I just was questioning for a house so big, why do you need that variance? That's
Okay,
all I
thank
have.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public have any questions for this witness? Please, come on forward. It's an open mic tonight.
Hi, my name is Zheng Yuan Hu. I live just across the street, 10 Sparrow Drive. I have a question because I saw the documentation saying that the owner needs that huge size for the house because he has kids growing up. You know, we all of us have kids. Even Joe raised like 3 kids in his house. So I want to know, how many kids do you have?
That's not, how many children or people that live in a house
Oh,
is
so
not.
it's not allowed to
not a
ask
valid,
the
not a valid question. One person can
Okay.
live in a huge house.
Yeah.
It's allowed, so number of
Okay,
people.
but still, it's a R3 zone, you know, yeah. So it's kind of, you know, the house is kind of huge for this size, yeah.
So if you want to make a statement about the size of the
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
we'll do
sure.
that later. If you
Yeah.
have a specific question for the architect.
Yes.
Or for the planner when his turn.
Yeah.
Please ask
Okay,
that
yeah,
question.
another question, second one. So why do you want to put like forward the house? Because I saw the code is like 50 feet. The front line is like 50 feet to the street, right? Now, and the proposal said it's gonna be 47.5 feet. So why would you want to put forward the house? That's my question. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
do you want?
Swear him in?
Do you want, okay,
I was going to say it'll be addressed in planning testimony.
okay.
So,
I think you heard before the answer about why, how they calculated the frontages of the house.
Yeah.
So your question is, why are they placing the house where they're placing it? And what the planner is saying is that his testimony is going to respond to that, but he hasn't had an opportunity yet to speak. So he now knows to respond to your question as part of his testimony. When he's done with his testimony, if you still have your question, you can come back up and say, you didn't answer my question. Can you answer my question?
Sure.
Okay?
Sure. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay.
anybody else on the board have any questions for this witness? I think you're off the hook.
I have a
Oh, never mind.
question.
You're not off the hook.
Yeah. I understand that with the averaging, we're at 47.50, but that's so close to 50 feet. And then you see lot 3 has 51, lot 4 has 49. Again, we're not trying to design for applicants, but wouldn't it be nice that you just put it at 50 feet and get rid of one variance? And you won't lose your rear yard, you won't trigger any other new thing. Oh, yeah, that's my question.
I think this
wants
is
to
the
answer
operative.
everything.
Okay, Mr. Graviano, you swear to tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
All right, and you're going to be testifying in your capacity as a planner, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
We
And
can
no
accept them.
qualifications
Yes.
accepted.
I normally wouldn't jump in, but there's
Please,
questions
let's
that are
keep it
being
moving.
posed
Yep.
that are appropriate for me answering them at this juncture. Based on some of the neighbors' concerns, I would like to put on record that it is within the Livingston Code for the applicant to exercise the right to utilize a front yard averaging average. The letter of the law is not really a variance, although the board has interpreted it that way. However, the applicant will push back the house to 2.5 feet to eliminate the front yard setback variance. So the
thank
applicant
you.
is no longer requesting for that front yard setback variance. Additionally, I'd like to note that the applicant's building height is at 30.72 feet, whereas 35 feet is permitted. So not only is the applicant proposing a dwelling which is shorter in height than what's permitted by ordinance, but the applicant now is pushing back the house, losing 2.5 feet, which is his right to address the concerns of both the board and the neighbors.
So, So, Mr. Graviano, you would agree with me as a condition of approval that amended plans will be submitted to reflect the new distance?
Yes, the house will be shifted back 2.5 feet.
Thank you. Everyone understood that then? Good, okay. Thank you very much for taking into account the neighbors.
Okay, so that leaves the habitable floor area ratio variance as the only relief that the applicant's requesting this evening. I would like to note that the applicant is improving the minimum side yard setback condition. 9.21 feet exists, that's a non-conforming scenario. The minimum side yard setback will be increased to 10 feet. Additionally, the aggregate side yard setback of 30 feet is required. The applicant's providing 43.83 feet, so obviously there'll be excess side yards to the neighboring dwellings. This by no means is an excessive dwelling. The applicant is below the habitable floor area amount at 3,500 square feet. The applicant's lot is 14,400 square feet, so is 600 square feet short, which triggers some habitable floor area ratio relief. I think given the fact that the applicant is meeting all of the side yard setbacks, will be providing stormwater management systems, is within the habitable floor area account, and is roughly 4 feet under the height limit, there's certainly no substantial impairment to the surrounding neighbors. Additionally, this proposal advances purposes A of the municipal land use law, promotion of the general health, safety, morals, and welfare. That's done through eliminating some of the existing nonconformities on the site and providing a dwelling which is now built to current construction code standards. Additionally, it helps advance purpose G to provide sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. And lastly, the applicant promotes a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangements. You saw Mr. Cedra's house. It's a beautiful combination of higher-end building materials, which I think is a stark improvement over what exists with the house today. And there's no substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance with granting the FAR variance.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness? I think we're good. Does anybody in the public want to make a statement? Think we're good? Does anybody?
I did have one question.
Sorry
Just to
about that, I
go back to
missed
the
you.
whole attic thing. So do you have anything, since Nick jumped in, so, the attic height?
The attic height is 5'8" from the attic floor to the underside of the ridge beam.
Okay.
5'8", yeah. And the building height is 30 foot 8 3/4, which is almost like 4 feet and 4
Got to get
inches.
the short family members to bring the stuff up there.
Does anybody on the board want to make any statements? Does anybody on the board want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve, subject to the condition of adjusting the plan to meet the 50-foot, thus only requiring the one variance.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Horn? Mr.
Yes.
Horn? Ms. Yuan?
Yes.
Mr. Shah?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Weissman?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the accommodation once again.
Okay. Block 3901, Lot 94.02, 29 Norman Court, application number 2025-21-V. Eddie Kemmelman, applicant seeks approval to install an in-ground pool in violation of the following sections: 170-96A8F, swimming pool setback rear, 20 feet required, 11.5 feet proposed, 8.5 feet variance requested.
Just for the record, Mr. Weissman has recused himself from the dais because he's within the 200-foot zone. So you have just 6, well, you have a C variance, but it's 6 board members, okay?
Oh, wait, turn on your mic?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gregory Massara, Bannon, Roddy, McDonald, and Massara in Verona, on behalf of the applicant, Eddie Kimmelman. As Ms. Khan had stated, this is an application for one variance with regard to a proposed setback of 11.5 feet in the rear yard on Norman Court. The required setback is 20 feet. Tonight, I just have Mr. Kimmelman to briefly testify, and then I have Mr. Paul Gdansky, the engineer, just to, again, give brief testimony as to the configuration of the property and what is proposed. So first, my first witness is Eddie Kemmelman.
All right, Mr. Kelman, do you swear affirm to tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Kelman, just state and spell your name for the record. Just bring the mic closer.
Eddie, E-D-D-I-E, Kemmelman, K-E-M-E-L-M-A-N.
Okay, your witness,
Mr. Kemmelman, you are the owner of 29 Norman Court in Livingston, is that correct?
Yes.
And how long have you owned the property?
6 years.
Okay, and who do you live in the property with?
My wife and 2 kids,
How old are your children?
15 and 11.
And your children are at the age where they would benefit greatly from a pool in the rear yard, is that not true?
That is true.
Okay, and can you briefly describe for the board the configuration of your property and the size of the rear yard?
Well, it's a cul-de-sac block, and the size, you probably have it on paper over there. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well, just generally, Mr. Gdansky will give more complete testimony, but just generally tell the board about the restrictions in the size of your rear yard.
Yeah, it's not too big of a yard, and I'm making the smallest pool possible for the family.
And you've contracted with the pool boss to design a pool?
Yes.
And going through that design, you just said you picked out probably the smallest design that they had available?
Yes.
Okay. Did you consider other configurations for a pool other than that was shown in your application?
No.
Okay, and because this is the only one that essentially fit, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness?
I think my questions will be for the witness.
Okay.
So I'll try to come back if some might be relevant for this witness.
Is he allowed?
He's a member of the public. Yeah, I've had this before.
Apparently, Jack.
Yeah, no. Just so everybody's looking at me strangely. Okay, so once a board member recuses themselves, they have removed themselves from the dais, so they're not part of the decision making. Therefore, they become a member of the public. Because they're a member of the public, they would have all the rights and opportunities that a member of the public has to observe and to ask questions.
I think the only reason you're getting a look is because we've never done that before this way.
Well, I just, and
Just-
that's,
just letting you know, that was,
I'm just telling you that's what it is.
okay, we're good.
Ms. Massera, are you gonna call?
My next witness is Paul Gdansky, who's a professional engineer of the state of New Jersey.
Okay, Ms. Badansky, do you swear for and tell the truth for this zoning board tonight?
I do.
Mr.
Okay.
Gdansky,
Can you state and spell your name for the record?
Sure, it's Paul, P-A-U-L, Gdansky, G-D-A-N-S-K-I.
Wait, oh, that was a lot quicker than I could take.
G-D-A-N-S-K-I.
Got it. And qualifications as an
Mr.
engineer?
Gdansky, you're a professional engineer of the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I've
And-
been practicing for over 25 years now, and my license is current. I've appeared before a number of boards throughout Jersey.
And what's the benefit of your education, please?
I have a master's degree in civil engineering
From what school?
from NJIT.
Okay. And have you ever appeared in front of this board before?
No, I've not appeared before this board, but I've appeared before others.
Okay. Have you ever been rejected as an expert in engineering by any board?
No.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I ask that you accept Mr. Gdansky as an expert in engineering.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objection, the witness is accepted as expert in engineering.
Thank you.
Mr. Gdansky, can you drew the plan dated 10/16/24 that was part of the application. The block says pool plan, soil erosion sediment control for Kemmelman, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you briefly describe for the board the cul-de-sac at Norman Court and the shape of the property, please?
Sure. So the property is kind of narrowed because the cul-de-sac sticks into the front of the lot. So it pushes the house back, thereby creating very little room in the backyard to do anything. So we designed the pool and patio with very minimal patio and at the smallest pool basically we can do. And with this configuration and with there's only about 35 feet from the back of the deck to the rear property line, we end up needing a variance of 11.5 to 11.5 to the pool.
In your opinion, you had mentioned the cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac is somewhat of a narrow cul-de-sac, is that correct?
It's a little narrow.
Okay. And there are no front yard setback violations, is that correct?
Not as far as I know, no.
But there is a hardship with regard to the rear yard because the house sits on the cul-de-sac. Is that your opinion?
Correct.
Okay. So it's your opinion that the rear yard is unusual in shape as it sits on this property?
Yes, also it's diagonal, so it also kind of limits the amount of room in the backyard.
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to look at the general shape of the property directly to the rear of this property on the tax map?
Yes.
Okay. And how would you describe that property? Much larger, smaller, or about the same size as this property, as the subject property?
You talking about the property?
The property that borders the rear yard?
I think it's bigger.
It's much bigger, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And that portion on the back of the subject property says wood board fence, is that correct?
Yes.
And what is behind that wood board fence on the adjoining property?
There's a large amount of trees and screening. You really can't see in the backyard at all.
Okay, and that's really a side rear of that bordering property, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any further questions of Mr. Gdansky.
Does anybody on the board have any questions? Yes.
I do. So, I appreciate the design, very nice and pretty, but what if, did you consider, instead of a kidney-shaped pool kind of going at an angle like this, more of a rectangular pool that would more run the length, that thus wouldn't go as close to the rear yard?
I mean, due to the grading also, that pool shape kind of helps with the way the lot's graded as well, so that's why we chose that. To kind of build these little small retaining walls to kind of level it out.
So talk to me a little bit about, because that's first, of the grading. What is the slope in the back? And is it sloping towards the neighbor?
It's sloping to the neighbor towards the, I believe that's the south. Yes.
The south would be the right, as we're looking at the map, would be the right.
Yes, the right side.
It slopes to the right.
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So I still don't fully understand why a rectangular pool going lengthwise, thus reducing the need for the setback to the fence, was not possible.
Well,
Because right now you have the pool, the kidney shape, right, kind of comes out like an angle like this, closer towards. Had the pool been turned and shifted or done as a rectangle, would you have been able to either eliminate the need for the variance or lessen the distance between the pool and the rear neighbor?
I don't know that we would be able to, we would definitely, we may be able to lessen the pool, but lessen the variance, but we would still, I believe we would still need a variance.
I believe, Mr. Horn, that there also is a minimum setback from the elevated deck to a pool. I'm not sure what it is in the township, but there is a certain distance that the pool has to be from the elevated deck for safety reasons.
Don't want people jumping.
Agreeing.
I'm
You
just-
clearly,
Yeah, no, agree. Don't want people jumping into the pool.
totally get that, but again, you have a pool going like this.
No, understood,
And
right.
the pool's going like this.
But there is also, right there, what I'm suggesting is that the pool itself cannot be moved closer to the house.
100%
Right,
agree with
okay.
that. But it would be more of the different shape or orientation of the pool. Fully agree, it could not be closer to the house.
Okay. I believe that can be done, but it's our position that there is, because of the significant buffer in the rear yard to the property that sits to the east, because that is really, the property that sits to the east does not front on the street directly behind Norman Court, but fronts on a different, but fronts to the south. So it's really a side of the rear yard of a lot that is almost twice as big as our lot, so there would be no interference, no noise issue. You know, it's certainly a far distance away from the dwelling on the property to the rear, if you look at the tax map. So I appreciate your concern, but I think aesthetically, that if the variance were granted, that it would be a nicer looking pool. It would have some pizzazz to it. Absolutely not necessary, but certainly an improvement over the rectangular pool. And there's no adverse impact, in our opinion, on the neighbor in the rear, because there really is no neighbor in the rear. You know, from a dwelling standpoint, you heard Mr. Gdansky say that there's, you know, a tremendous buffer, and there's nothing back there.
Is there not a home behind this house?
The home is on the lot behind the house, but not near this rear portion.
Okay.
It's almost a full lot away if you measured the lots, is what I'm suggesting.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for this witness? Does anybody in the public have any questions for this witness?
Peter Weissman, W-E-I-S-M-A-N. I live at 142 Hillside Avenue. We are the property on the other side of that wooden board fence that council's referring to. And I'll just stick to the questions now. I disagree with some of the assessments, but that will be for the when I come up again. Are there going to be, is there any plans for additional groundwater, stormwater management, given this?
We're under the 1,000 square foot threshold. If it's required, we'd have no problem putting it in.
And what do you plan to do about the wooden fence, which is getting dilapidated? Is that coming down with a new fence? Is it going to be repaired, or it's staying as is?
Some of the fence is gonna be new, so I'd have to ask the owner if he's changing the rear fence. I know the sides is gonna be new.
If that is the owner's fence, he will be happy to put in a new fence, board on board, that obviously would face your property.
Okay. What about, I saw one of the other plans online. There's, I believe, 4 evergreen trees on the applicant's property. Are those, and then one of the plans, it looked like they were umbrellas. So.
Yeah, you're talking about this plan here.
Yeah, so are those umbrellas? Are those the trees?
There's like an umbrella in the patio area, and then there's trees shown, like figure.
Are those trees like where the cursor is right now?
Yes, yes, those are trees.
So
he's gonna be doing some planting there.
But are those evergreen trees remaining, all the evergreen trees?
He's not taking, I don't think, as far as I recall, I do not believe hold on, I'll tell you.
No trees.
No trees are being removed.
Okay.
So all those evergreens in the back are remaining.
Okay. And what percent of the backyard is represented by this pool?
Let's see. It is 7.2%.
How'd you calculate that? I'm just curious.
The pool surface divided by the rear yard area going around the back.
And then just, I'm not a pool expert, but my neighbor on the other side has a pool and was telling me sometimes pools leak. One of the reasons for a setback. Can you tell me like what happens like when a pool does leak or get damaged and overflows, so I have a sense of?
Well, usually, I mean, if it leaks, obviously it would drain and then he would repair it. But it would it would be absorbed into the ground. It wouldn't like bubble out. It's not gonna bubble out. It's gonna be absorbed by the ground.
Sort of goes onto, the neighbor's property or what happens, yeah.
What do you mean, if the pool overflows?
No, if it breaks and suddenly the water starts pouring out underground.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, I'm just asking, because my neighbors are more of a
I've
pool
never
expert
heard
than
of
me.
that happening,
Okay.
but.
I'm not trying to be, has your neighbor suggested what happens?
No, she had referred me to somebody else that it did happen to.
Yeah.
So that's why, because she just built it by the same company, by the way, by the pool boss. So she's very
Yeah.
happy. It sounds like a good reputable company.
Yeah, obviously, if it completely collapses, the water is gonna go over people's property. That's possible with anybody's pool.
Okay. That's all the questions.
Thank you. Does anybody else in the public have any questions? Okay. Does anyone in the public want to make any statements? No. Yeah, come forward.
I don't know. I don't think I need to restate my name. So, well, first of all, I hate being in this situation because I don't like to have a conflict.
I'm sorry, Peter, you got to swear in.
Oh, yes, yes.
Do you swear for and tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I don't like having any conflicts with my neighbors, having good terms with all my neighbors, except I think it'll be now this neighbor. And I don't mind pools. I don't like, my neighbor on the other side has a pool. It enhances the value, it could enhance the attractiveness. I'm not against pools. Actually, it's usually better if people build pools. It creates a better neighborhood, et cetera, adds value, would add value to my house. In this case, I disagree with council that it's going to add value. My concern is, for several reasons, that we're going to lose value and it's going to be a detriment. First, it's really close. We're talking, the reason you have 20 feet is already, when you talk about pools, you're concerned about sight and noise. So you can see only 11 feet is about, it's less than here to the wall. I mean, it's pretty close. 20 feet's already pretty close, but we allow it. 11.5 is really close. So in terms of sight and noise next to a pool, that's very inconvenient for a neighbor. And in terms of the house, to explained to council had stated, oh, it doesn't matter because it's a big property. Let me describe the back of the property. The back of my property, I have a 30-foot setback from the back of my house. Most of that is a double retaining wall, meaning 4 feet and then another 4 feet. And then in front of that is large arborvitaes. So my usable backyard space is 20, 25 feet from the rear of my house to the back. So that pretty much I've got a patio in the back. That's it. You know, maybe it's like 3 feet of grass going from that's my backyard. So then it sort of veers out, and then my main backyard area is the side yard. So the side slash back. It's the back. This is the rear corner back and side of my house. So in terms of play spaces, et cetera, you know, that's where the swing set is. That's when the kids were younger. I was standing within about 20 feet off that fence, you know, to play, if you want to have a catch, throw a Frisbee, and maybe you're talking, I know from throwing a ball enough, maybe it's 60 feet. Maybe you got 60, 70 feet of lawn space there. So that's all you got. So the recreational area for now, my property, and it is a larger property in terms of square feet, but that's because it's got a lot of unusable space. It's got the whole front lawn unusable. It's a flag property, goes to the street. The usable backyard space is pretty small. It's on the side, and it's right on the other side of this fence. There is a nice buffer of some trees on his side, trees on my side, which is great. And again, I'd like there to be a pool, my neighbor to be happy. It's just, I feel like this is really gonna be like practically in our backyard. It just seems like it's a problem. I have some more. So because of that, I think my property, look, I wish it would go up, but I think this is gonna be a negative for my property. I'm also concerned, that's why I asked the question about the water. Right now, there is, and if you look on the plan, I think they even show about the 10-foot water easement, because water flows from this property into my backyard, into my front yard, all the way out to Hillside Avenue. There's like, I guess, underground water. So that area, which I'm talking about, that main part, it gets pretty, it doesn't flood, but I think it's pretty swampy. So when it rains, it's pretty mushy. Can't go out there for a few days. So I'm a little concerned about that now with the pool displacing all that ground and the water coming from that direction to mine, I'm also concerned about will become a little more unusable with flooding. And then I just want to point out, I can appreciate that it's, if you could call it undersized, I don't view it as undersized. I just want the board to understand, this was a part of the hillside development. So all these houses, they weren't put in a zone. There's no pre-existing condition. They were built this way, and then the zoning board, the zoning ordinance came, and it's undersized or not. Every property in this is exactly the right size. It was approved by the planning board as a special zoning district. So each house on the property is precisely proper size, because that's what was approved by the town to build these houses. I don't have a solution. I'd like my neighbor to have a pool. I think the yard probably is too, and I agree, it's probably a small pool. I'd like my neighbor to have a pool. It's a small property. That's what it was zoned as a small property. It was approved. It's not, my analogy is I can't put a tennis court. I'd love to have a tennis court in my backyard. I can't, because it just doesn't fit. So again, and I'm open to any solutions here, but I feel like this is gonna hurt my property and the use and enjoyment of anybody that's in the back space. I'm thinking for myself and then future occupants. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else in this public want to make a statement? Does anybody on the board want to make a statement or ask any questions at this point?
I got a question, or two. Is there on any of these plans the setback drawn that you could see where the setback line is?
So I measured the setback from the deck to the property line. It's about 35 feet. So no matter what pool we choose, we would need a variance. And normally you want to be at least 5 or 6 feet away from the deck. And then if you do a 12-foot pool, you know, you're still gonna need a variance. So no matter what pool we choose, we would need the variance. To alleviate some of the concern about the noise, we could plant some additional arborvitae if the board would like.
What's the, on the other plan, the colored drawing,
Yep.
what's this rectangle thing that's like in the middle of the,
Which rectangle?
the dotted trapezoidal thing in the middle of the pool? What's, yeah, that.
That might be the setbacks. That's probably what it is. I didn't draw that. That's done by Pool Boss, but it looks like it's the setbacks.
No, I mean, I kind of what Mr. Horn said before, I don't also understand why, even if you wanted the roundish shape, why it just couldn't follow the same angle as the deck, but
Once again, if we did, it would still need a variance. We'd still be back to this board for a similar
there's a
variance.
variance, and then there's a smaller variance. I mean, there's, you know, you're asking for the moon, you know, and then there's, you know, there's, I understand, but there's, it's not like this or nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that we could try.
Mike. I get yelled at the guy in the back.
I'm sure that we could try to reconfigure the pool. I would like to be able to not have to come back to the board. One, because your agenda is, I mean, we couldn't be back until, somebody said 2026, which I know was facetious, but if we could agree on an appropriate setback, perhaps, and then redesign the pool. Now, with regard to Mr. Weissman's concerns about the coverage, that was in your engineer's review letter, that before we got a building permit, we would have to satisfy the engineer with regard to stormwater runoff, et cetera. So that would, you know, that's a given in any application. If we could agree on, maybe split the difference on the setback. Right now, we're looking for 8 feet. You know, if we move it back 4 feet.
Ms. Massera, can you do me a favor, because we kind of had this discussion about the infamous dotted lines. And maybe it's getting late and I'm getting conspiratorial, but
Can't be said.
you know, is there a way we can see what the distance is from that rear yard?
Yes, there's a
to
survey.
to that infamous
There is a survey.
dotted line?
There is a first.
No, I can't, I don't have
Well, no,
yeah,
we
but
have
the
it.
dotted line's not on.
Well, first site surveying, though, that was submitted with the application, has the elevated deck, and then it has the, I'm sorry, there are the contours for
Yeah, there's
the,
no-
for the
there's
topo.
no setback on there.
Right, that's the topo, it doesn't have the setbacks, right.
No.
Which is
All
part of
right.
the problem, because it's
All right.
hard to make any kind of decisions without really
Well,
knowing.
the Pool Boss prepared this drawing. I can't attest to what the dotted line is, regardless of what it is.
I don't even
Okay.
care about the dotted line. You know, the dotted line might be just that that's like the angle following the deck. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there's nothing on here that I mean, I know you're saying you need a variance of X amount of feet. There's nothing on the drawing that shows that the edge of this pool was X amount of feet from the rear yard.
Yeah, on the other plan, on my plan there is.
Yeah, there is, right, because that's
It
what.
says 11.5 from the
Where's
rear
that from?
yard.
Right.
And then additionally, like I said, that I measured the distance from the deck to the rear property line, and it's 35 feet. So we would need at least 5 or 6 feet of patio from the deck. And then if we wanted to do a 12-foot pool, if we want to go with the rectangle, so that's about 17, 18 feet.
Or maybe
Where-
rotate it.
Well, I
That might help.
Where is it to the edge of the oval of the part closest to the deck on the left side? Like,
It's
where's-
right here.
No, the other, all the way down to the left.
Where are you
The
saying down?
lowest, yeah, right, yeah, along that.
I mean, that's a lot, but this isn't,
All right, okay. We're gonna call a timeout here. All right? The zoning board's job is not to redesign pools.
Yep.
Okay? So our job is not to say, we don't like kidneys. I love kidney bean soup, but we can't have kidneys. we want rectangles, we don't want rectangles, any of that. All we deal with are the setbacks, right? So, right now, I think we've heard that Mr. Macera, on behalf of his client, has indicated, I hear that there are some concerns raised by the board, some concerns raised by the public about the distance, about that variance level. And I think what we heard from Mr. Macera is that perhaps he would, his client would agree to a lesser variance, and then it would be up to him and his client to then take it back to the drawing board to live within that variance. And I'm sure somebody named Pool Boss probably has the skill and expertise to change kidneys into, lentils, whatever the case may be.
I could do it too.
So the question let me pose this question to the board. If Ms. Macera, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'm going to do it anyway. If we have an 8.5 variance, if we reduce that in half to a 4.25 variance, I'll check with my engineering colleagues. They're sure that 4.25 is half of
Yes.
8.5, okay. And that would, what Mr. Macera is offering is to reduce the variance, require him to go back to the drawing board, make it a condition of approval to meet all engineering requirements to ensure the safety of the pool, that it meets all of those standards under the building code, and obviously you're gonna have to get permits. It's an in-ground pool, so you're gonna have to get, excavation and so forth. So with that in mind, Ms. Macera, is it your, and the trees, that your client is now asking for an amendment of the variance to 4.25?
That is correct.
Okay. Knowing that they're gonna have to live within that standard.
And we are not proposing at this juncture to change the size of the pool or the shape, but to change the location of the pool, so that we only need a 4.5-foot variance. Yes.
And not cause any other variances as a
Not
result
cause any
thereof.
other variances, absolutely.
And additional screening.
We'll
Yeah, I think you said that the fence would be, you said that the fence would be taken care of.
Yes. You put a new, yes.
Oh, yeah. That was the question to you.
No,
Yeah.
no. Put a new board-on-board fence in the rear.
And
6 feet, I think, is the standard.
Yeah, be careful with that. Our fence, be careful with the fencing, make sure you get it right.
Okay.
But you had talked about some additional trees possibly? Did you say that? Did I misunderstand?
We certainly would, if.
We can plant a couple
we could-
arborvitae.
Arborvitae's, right.
Yeah, please, go, yes.
None of the trees are coming down.
No,
Nothing is coming down.
understood.
They're big, very big trees.
Right.
Like it's a natural fence, I would say, right?
No, understood.
But we can plant more, no problem.
Yeah, that would be,
Sorry.
In the voids
In the
along the
void,
rear
right.
yard,
Yeah.
we will do that.
That's
Yes.
what-
Yeah.
right, this way, just because you are a little closer, we want to make sure that
No,
it keeps privacy for everybody.
Correct.
I thought you were going to say that.
Right, arborvitae, green giant arborvitae.
The number and the type. 6 foot.
6 foot,
6 foot, arbor green,
6 foot arborvitae,
arborvitae's.
at least, probably can fit at least 3.
Fine.
If not,
If not, we'll go to the engineer and say we can't fit 3, is that,
at least, I think, I don't like to play.
We should be able to fit 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can definitely fit at least 3 in between the trees that are
Okay.
shown on the plan.
Fine.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
Is outside of your property.
Yes. No, it's, right, it has nothing to do with this pool. Correct.
So any trees you plan are within your property now?
correct.
Right.
Good question.
Because the easement is along one side, we're doing it along the other. Right.
Okay, are there any other statements, questions, or comments? You good? Everyone good? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion? Hello? Need a little help here. I'll make a motion to approve with the modified rear yard setback at 4.25 instead of 8.5, and a minimum of 3 6-foot arborvitaes, green arborvitaes along the backyard, and repairs to any fencing that's needed.
We're actually replacing the fence.
Replacing the fence, okay.
I guess I'll second it. Okay, Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Shah?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Ms. Yuan?
Yes.
And Mr. Weissman? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't, oh my God, you can't do this. I'm just reading down the list.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last application. Okay, Block 4203, Lot 18, 4 Spalding Drive, application number 2025-17-V, Alexis JGS LLC. Applicant seeks approval to construct a new single-family home in violation of the following sections. 170-99C2, front yard setback, 40 feet required, 35 feet proposed, 5 feet variance requested. 170-99C2, aggregate side yard, 30% required, 29.6 proposed, 0.4% variance requested. 170-99C4, rear yard setback, 35 feet required, 31.75 feet proposed, 3.25 feet variance requested. 170-87CC4, habitable floor area ratio, 30% allowed, 37.8% proposed, 7.8% variance requested.
For the record, Mr. Shaw has recused himself as he's within the 200-foot distance. Bless you. So, sir, can we have, you gotta hit the green button. Hit the green button? You gotta hit, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, please have your name.
My name is Jihang Su, Jihang, last name Su, S-U.
And are you the property owner?
Yes.
Okay, and you have one witness being presented for you tonight?
Yeah, Robert.
Okay, why don't we get you sworn in? Do you swear affirm to tell the truth for the zoning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Robert Emmert Jr., last name is E-M-E-R-T.
Okay, and briefly speaking on architecture?
Yes, I'm an architect.
Brief qualifications?
I am a registered architect in the state of New Jersey. I presented before this board on numerous times, as well as Milburn, Englewood, and several other locations, and my license is in good standing.
And can we just have your education?
Graduated with a Bachelor of Architecture from the University of Kansas in 1983. Go
Thank you.
Jayhawks.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or objections regarding this witness? There being no objections, the witness is accepted as expert in architecture. Okay, it's all yours.
All right. Well, first off, thank you for sticking around for this long evening.
We're actually nailed down to the chairs.
It's been very long. All right, so Peter, my client, has purchased the property 4 Spalding Drive, and it's currently a 1-story house not in great location. And it's in an area, Peter's a resident of Livingston, and it's in an area of Livingston that's, I could say this about most of Livingston these days. It's going under dramatic changes and stuff. Houses across the street are new. The one across the street down in the corner is new. One next door is going to be built new. So what Peter is proposing is to remove the old house, build a new one, and do it in a manner which is in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood, what's going on in the neighborhood and in the town as a whole. And so what he's doing, as I said, is, we're taking down the house, sort of flipping the orientation. Currently, the driveway's on the right, we're putting it on the left, and the garage is on the left. And the reason we're doing that is the orientation of the lot. We want to gather on the right side, we want to collect the south sun, get the east sun and the south sun as it wraps around. So that side of the house, we're really going to open up lots of windows and, take advantage of the natural light. And in order to do this, what we're proposing is a two-story house, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, laundry room on the second floor. As you can see from looking at the plans, and I can show you them if you wish. But, they're nice sized rooms, but, 11 by 11, 11 by 12 bedrooms, things, it's not like they're huge spaces. So it's 4 bedrooms upstairs, and then we come down to the main level. We're doing a 2-car garage, which is slightly over the 450, so some of that is factoring into the floor area ratio. Kitchen, guest bedroom / office on the first floor. So the lot is slightly undersized. It's let me just find my numbers here. All right, so it's in an R4 zone, which requires the 9,375 square feet, and the existing lot is 8,198 square feet. So it's undersized for this zone by about 8.75%. And the minimum lot width is undersized, and the minimum lot depth is undersized. So overall, the lot is undersized, and it's slightly, it tapers in as it goes back from the width at the front. So it's a slight irregular shaped lot. All right, so to summarize, we're asking for 4 variances: the front yard, side yard aggregate, rear yard, and habitable floor area ratio. So starting with the front yard, 40 feet is required, and we are proposing 35 feet, which requires a 5-foot variance. And as you can see on this drawing, and on your drawing, this is the established setback, front setback, that the engineer, Corson Engineering, prepared, showing the average front setback at 34.8. Now, there was some conversation on a previous project, but my understanding, and Jackie can correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as an established setback, I'm showing this to show you what the established setback is, but the ordinance requires it to be taken to 200 feet to either side. We don't have, because we're one block away from the corner here at Spear, we don't have the 200 feet on that side, so we're not automatically granted this front yard established setback. So that's why we have to ask for it as a variance. If we had the 200 feet and we had it, we wouldn't be asking for that one. So again, the average setback established by the engineer is 34.8. So, looking at the adjacent houses, we said, all right, so we're looking to set it at 35 feet, because number one, I thought it was in keeping with the other houses. It's slightly forward the other houses, not dramatically so, but it also helped with the rear yard, because you can see on the diagonal line going through, the pink line going through at the back here, that's the rear yard setback line. And so we're trying to minimize that, keep the separation from the neighbor there at the rear. And so, as you can see, when you look at it, it just clips through a couple of triangular sections. The majority of the house, the vast majority of the house is, in front of that rear yard set line, but there's just a couple little triangles that leaked over for that. So that's, how we positioned the house and established the front yard setback and the rear yard setback, where we're asking for the rear yard, the greatest, the largest triangle, which is to the left side, is the 3.25 feet. Aggregate setback is fairly de minimis. It's, 30% required. We're at 29%, 29.6. Again, the entire house fits within the setback, except for this little corner. There's a little corner back here, because we're at the 12 feet there, the 10 feet there, but there's just one little corner in that rear section that is over for, it only comes through the house about 3 or 4 feet, and then the rest of the house is in compliance with the side yard combined. And then the last one is the habitable floor area ratio. So we are underneath the square footage requirement for the property, but we are over on the habitable floor area ratio. Again, as I mentioned before, the lot is undersized by about 8.75 is what I said. And we were asking for a 7.8% variance. A little bit as it comes from the garage, and then the remainder is the main house. So that's a summary of my presentation.
Does anybody have any questions for this witness?
Well, I have a couple of questions, but one question I have is the aggregate side yard. Why couldn't you just why can't we just get rid of that variance?
The
'Cause you're asking
aggregate
for-
side yard?
Yes, why can't we just get rid of that?
Well, it would require, because the second floor is not impacted by it. Because, I'll just show you, we're talking about this little bit right back here. So on the first floor, I'll get to, but so on the second floor, there's nothing built there. We left that open to get some window area, but also to stay under the floor square footage. I mean, all right, in order to do that, trying to see, I'd have to, because I don't think, again, the house, the rooms are not oversized. I mean, it's got a small living room in the front, which is not impacted by what you're asking, or the dining room. So if we try that, I think I would leave those rooms, and then we would just slide the family room wall in. So 0.4 feet. That's what I'm just thinking. I was just trying to think of how much, so it's 0.4 feet, so it's 5 inches or something like that. We'd probably 6 inches. So that's something we could entertain.
I mean, just to eliminate one of the variances, I think that might not be a hard thing to do. I mean, it's easy for me to say, right? But
No, I mean, straight lines are nice in construction, less joints, less potential for leakage, because I'm gonna have to pull in the foundation wall. But to answer your question, could we do that? Yes, we could. So, I mean, and I would leave it up to Peter to say yes or no to that, since it's his house, but we can accommodate that.
And then what's the square footage of the basement? Do you have, is it
It's
a
the
finished
same-
basement?
Yeah, I do. It's the same as the first floor.
Is it on here? Oh, it's on here, I'm sorry. Oh, 1528,
1528.
okay, I see, 1528, okay, thank you.
And just for clarity, going back to the established front yard setback map, the house to the left, which is on, right, that house faces Spear Drive, correct? That's the side of the house, that's the 30.6,
Correct,
not the front.
correct.
Right.
That he factored in, yes. But it's still, I mean, it does face the street, but it is the side of the house, yes, definitely. The front Spear.
And then obviously looking at that too, the number 4 really is the bump out of that side of the street too. Like as you come around the corner, that house also, the front lot sticks out further than the others, and then then the street kind of curves back as it goes down Spalding.
Right.
Right, so I mean, it would just be out further, just be more pronounced when you.
Well, I mean, the street's out further, you know, so it's the relationship to the curb, to the house,
right.
should be similar.
Does anybody else have any questions for this witness? Is anybody in the public? I don't think there's anybody in the public besides our reporter back there. So I'd like to hear from other people in the board. We guys had a little conversation about moving the family room in a little bit. Does that help everybody a little bit?
Yes, again, I think there's a lot of variances on this now, and as Lori rightly said, right, I think bringing in and reducing one of the variances would go a long way.
So that's agreeable if we vote yes on this?
Agreeable. We can bring it
Yeah. All right, that'll be a condition if we pass it then.
to right, yes, it'll be right on the setback line, the 30% line.
The attic, what's the height of the attic?
I knew you were going to ask that. I looked, because I haven't actually measured. It's around somewhere between 6 and 7 feet. I don't have, it's pull-down stair, there's no stair going up there. You know, it's not intended for living space.
Since we don't have a no number, and would the applicant, would you be acceptable to a condition of approval that can't be considered, be used as living space in the future?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're going to end up, the way attics work nowadays, I mean, you have to put about 16 inches of insulation in them to comply with the energy code. So, but also we are going to have 2 mechanical systems, and one serving the bedroom level is going to go up there. So we're going to have ductwork snaking through that attic to serve the bedrooms for heating and cooling too. So, but yes, that condition is fine.
Great, we just like to tuck that one away. Does anybody else have any comments or questions for this witness, or anybody, or the application? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions for the attics, and then getting rid of the side yard aggregate variance.
I don't think so.
I'll second that.
Jackie, we don't need to see the plans, right, as long as they comply? Yes, okay. Second by Mr. Horn?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Wait, okay. Ms. Yuan, yes. Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Shah? Oh, he left, sorry. Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Weissman?
Yes.
Ms. Khan votes yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Okay. I thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Meeting is adjourned.